Chapter 897. The mountain was dark red, and there was no vegetation. Han Fei went all the way to the top of the mountain. Crossing the top of the mountain, Han Fei didn't find any sounding snake, but in the valley on the other side of the mountain, there was a faint sound of hitting plates. Han Fei felt his head was a little swollen, so he stuffed a few more mint leaves into his mouth. Han Fei found that the leaves of the purple vine passion fruit were really useful. I didn't cut enough at the beginning. It seems that I have to open up a special piece of land and forge the universe to plant this thing. When he was halfway up the other side of the mountain, Han Fei's eyes suddenly narrowed. Swish! Han Fei flashed out, and in his place, a sounding snake appeared. How did it escape my perception? Han Fei was a little surprised. It doesn't make sense. With his perception, even in the valley, he didn't find a sounding snake. This was halfway up the mountain. Where did this guy come from? Han Fei took a closer look and found that this sounding snake was completely different from the bloody puddle he saw just now. Its whole body was crimson, and its forewings were more than 10 meters long when spread out. Its head resembled a dragon, with a clump of red hair standing on its head. Those wings were like feathers, just like the wings of a bird. However, the difference was that these wings were crimson and shining, and when they clapped with each other, a clanging sound burst out. Clang, clang. Han Fei only felt a buzz in his head. However, the soul power of this sounding snake should not be as strong as his. Therefore, it was not easy to confuse him. Swish! Han Fei flashed out again, and at the same time, a golden fist mark blasted out, and the sounding snake was punched back dozens of meters by Han Fei. Han Fei sneered. If he had to use the Overlord's technique just to deal with a sounding snake, he might as well give up exploring this ruin. Swish! Han Fei flashed again and activated the draw technique, and the void lines hooked out along with the knife light. As if sensing a strong sense of threat, the sounding snake flapped its wings and flew out. Hey, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for. Han Fei flashed again and appeared on the back of the sounding snake. He pressed his palm, and all 10 void lines hooked up. At that moment, even if the sounding snake tried its best to escape, the void lines were too close, and it had nowhere to run. Han Fei quickly controlled the soul of this sounding snake. From its soul, Han Fei read some messy pictures. In some of the pictures, dense sounding snakes could be seen. Han Fei was stunned by this scene. So many? How do we fight them? Han Fei turned over and sat on the rattlesnake, wondering if he should explore that treasure trove. If he went there and hundreds of sounding snakes came out, he might not be able to resist them. Forget it. Let's find the cave first. Han Fei tried to find information from the sounding snake's soul. In the end, as he searched, he suddenly saw 2 huge red eyes. Han Fei was taken aback. This was just what he saw through the divine soul of the sounding snake. The fear he felt actually came from the sounding snake itself. You're afraid of your own kind? Looks like it won't be easy. Han Fei didn't panic. Since he couldn't find the entrance, he might as well study the power of his divine manipulation technique through this sounding snake. He controlled this sounding snake to fly to a high place. Han Fei was trying to read the information bit by bit. After several hundred attempts, Han Fei was gradually able to see the owner of the pair of red eyes. Luo Xiaobai was right. There was really a powerful creature at the Snake King level. When he saw this Snake King clearly, Han Fei couldn't help but be in a trance. That body seemed to be a bit too huge, wasn't it? Just the snake's head alone looked more than 30 meters long, not to mention its body. And beside the big snake, Han Fei also saw a small tree of unknown quality. On the small tree, there was a dark green fruit hanging. In addition to this dark green fruit, Han Fei also saw 3 corpses in the huge snake cave. The corpses were all wearing armor and battle suits. Han Fei also knew the appearance of the 3 corpses. They were the same kind of corpses he met in the undersea chimney. Han Fei couldn't help but be stunned. If these corpses were supposed to appear in the undersea chimney, then would there be spirit awakening fluid here? Han Fei wasn't sure. If the spirit awakening fluid was still here, then it meant that in this so-called ruins, There was not only the fruit and the 3 corpses, but also at least 3 million kilograms of spirit awakening fluid. Even if the spirit awakening fluid might have been divided up by these little snakes. However, there were still 3 corpses. The equipment on them was also good stuff. If he could kill the Snake King along the way, it would probably be another huge harvest. At least, the bodies of snakes were full of treasures. Let's go and have a look. If we can't find the entrance, give up. He controlled the sounding snake to fly to the valley. In the air above the valley, Han Fei controlled the sounding snake under him and knocked. Clang, clang, the sound echoed in the valley, echoing faintly. Suddenly, Han Fei heard another knock, followed by dozens of knocks. Han Fei's eyes suddenly lit up. Huh. It turns out that there's a snake cave hidden in a gravel beach at the bottom of the valley. Hey, don't blame me if I find it. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and a large jar filled with poison god appeared. He used half of the poison god that Chao Chiu gave him. Nearly 50 kilograms of poison god were stuffed into the stomach of this sounding snake and swallowed. Of course, in order to prevent it from breaking out, Han Fei put poison god in a large fish bladder. As long as the fish bladder didn't burst, poison god wouldn't spread. Ooh! Han Fei flew into the air and flew directly to the top of the hill. And the void lines controlled the sounding snake to drill into a pile of rocks at the bottom of the valley. Then Han Fei found that there was another world under the valley. In the dark cave, dozens of sounding snakes were entangled with each other. Some sounding snakes were looking at him, or to be precise, at the sounding snake that he controlled. They stuck out their tongues, and their eyes were scarlet, as if they had seen a strange snake. Have I been discovered? Clang, clang for a time. There was a lot of knocking sounds in the cave. Because the knocking was very rhythmic, gradually, this kind of sound spread far away. Han Fei's face suddenly changed. What were these sounding snakes doing? As they knocked, Han Fei also had a knock. Otherwise, he would immediately become out of place. If he was discovered, it would be a matter of minutes. In the valley, there were echoes and sound waves rippling. Han Fei felt his head was swollen, so he quickly spat out the mint leaf in his mouth and took another bite. Yes, he stuffed it into his mouth, not a piece. Han Fei felt that a piece of mint leaf could no longer stop his hostility. Thud! Thud! When the knocking spread out like a sound wave, Han Fei saw a golden light descending on a mountain in the distance. Huh, sea god descends? Generally speaking, those who could force a peak-level sea demon to use sea god descends were usually not weak. It happened that Luo Xiaobai and the others could. Han Fei's face changed slightly. Did Luo Xiaobai and the others encounter the sea demon army? Han Fei immediately summoned Little Black and Little White. Daughter, look where Luo Xiaobai and the others are. However, Little White's direction was the other side, which happened to be the opposite battlefield. Han Fei immediately thought of something. If I can't break into this snake cave, can I attract others to come over? With this in mind, Han Fei flew directly to the opposite mountain. However, only after Han Fei flew less than 3,000 meters away, the aftermath of the battle came from all directions. Han Fei saw that there was a white light shining in the distance. Then, Han Fei saw that on a small hill not far away, there was an octopus phantom flying in the air. Then, Han Fei also saw that some people were spreading their wings and fighting each other. Oh no, I'm in trouble. Why are there so many living people near this mountain range? Han Fei didn't expect this. He thought that there shouldn't be too many people in this valley. After all, if it weren't for the mint leaf in his hand, Zhang Xuanyu and the others might have been bewitched. But now, Han Fei found that he was wrong. He was not the only special person, and he was not the only one who could resist the sound of the sounding snakes. However, it seemed that he had caused the collective knocking of the sounding snakes. Because of this, those who were originally able to resist the bewitching sound collapsed, and their minds became lost. Damn it, he definitely couldn't save them. No matter how fast he was, he couldn't put out the fire from all directions. Lure. He could only tempt these vicious fellows into coming over on their own initiative. Han Fei gritted his teeth, flew directly to the top of the valley, took out 10,000 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid and a large amount of spiritual spring, and scattered them. The rich spiritual vortex attracted the attention of all parties. Many figures were rushing toward the valley. Not only humans and sea demons, but also the sounding snakes under Han Fei all drilled out of their holes, seemingly wanting to devour the spirit awakening fluid and spiritual energy. Han Fei ran away as fast as he could. At the same time, Han Fei controlled his sounding snake to escape first. It was not until nearly 200 sounding snakes poured out of the snake cave that Han Fei controlled the sounding snake to drill into the snake cave. More than 200 sounding snakes were flying in the air, which was equivalent to more than 200 peak-level sea demons. The only fortunate thing was that this kind of snake was good at bewitching people, but its combat effectiveness was not strong. When a human and sea demon powerhouses rushed over, a fierce conflict immediately broke out with them. In a frenzy, many human and sea demon powerhouses quickly rushed into the battle. The sky was full of shadows and dazzling lights. Han Fei gritted his teeth. A bunch of idiots. Knowing that this place is fascinating, they still won't leave. Han Fei found that there were 50 or 60 human powerhouses and as many as 70 or 80 sea demons. Fine, I'll take care of the trouble I caused. Chapter 898. Looking at the humans, sea demons, and sounding snakes fighting each other, Han Fei took out a large pile of mint leaves, crushed them in an instant, mixed them into the infinity water, turned them to spikes, and rushed to the battlefield. With the help of the Overlord's technique, Han Fei's speed was extremely fast. Swish, swish, swish. Every time he flickered, he would appear next to a human powerhouse. Every time he appeared, Han Fei would punch the infinity water into their bodies with the invincible fist mark. Of course, there was bound to be resistance. However, Han Fei's reaction was extremely fast. In front of a group of delirious powerhouses, he could at least hit them. Suddenly, Han Fei heard a voice transmission. "I'm here to help. Is there any way to wake them up?" It was Luo Xiaobai's voice. Han Fei couldn't help but smile bitterly. He thought that Luo Xiaobai and the others could kill them, but how long had it been? A super melee equivalent to 300 or 400 people had begun. Han Fei responded, "I'll try to wake them up. I'll drive them out. You catch them." At that moment, Han Fei's figure flickered wildly. About a quarter of an hour later, Han Fei blasted more than 50 people away under the triple attack. As for Han Fei himself, he was blasted into a miserable state. After all, there were too many people, and none of them was weak. More than a dozen people had already died. There was no time to save them. Han Fei sensed that Luo Xiaobai had dragged those half-awake humans with her vines and had run 50 kilometers away. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, "Take them away first and wait for me to meet you." Han Fei directly tore open a water mist array, cast a stealth array on himself in the chaos, and jumped away from the battlefield. Han Fei, who fell to the bottom of the valley, didn't care about the battle in the sky at all. It had nothing to do with him whether it was the sea demons or the sounding snakes. Besides, he had to rely on those sea demons to fight the sounding snakes. And the sounding snake he controlled was running around in the snake cave. In the snake cave, there were many caves. Without Little White's guidance, Han Fei could only crawl through one big hole after another. Fortunately, in the fourth tunnel, Han Fei found many sounding snakes that seemed to have just woken up. Besides, Han Fei felt that this sounding snake under his control was trembling. Found it! Han Fei was overjoyed. This cave should be connected to each other. In fact, all the caves could be drilled deep into the ground. It was just that the path he was taking now was much smoother. "Pah!" A snake tail slapped Han Fei. Han Fei was lost for words. "I'm just walking into the cave. Why are you bouncing the ball?" When Han Fei walked another dozens of kilometers, he felt that the sounding snake under his control was trembling all over. "No, we have to let it rush down." Immediately, Han Fei forcibly controlled this sounding snake to rush into the depths of the cave. However, as soon as Han Fei moved, many sounding snakes noticed the abnormality. At first, They just hissed at Han Fei and then slapped him with their tails. Finally, it rushed up to bite and slash with its wings. After rushing for less than 2,000 meters, the sounding snake was already covered with bruises. Explode. Han Fei knew that he couldn't break in. He could only try to wake up the Snake King here. Rumble. At the moment when the sounding snake self-detonated, many caves collapsed, waves rolled in the cave, and the poison god dissipated frantically. Taking advantage of this opportunity, at the moment of the explosion, Han Fei had already released the void lines, retreated nearly a kilometer, and caught another sounding snake that was using its wings to block the violent impact. Hey, you're all going to have an attack. Han Fei sneered and roared. In the sky, a sounding snake fell, and its head was punctured by a sea demon. When Han Fei looked again, there were only more than 20 sea demon powerhouses left, and only nearly 100 sounding snakes were gone. Because 5 people had used the secret method of sea god descends, including 2 heavenly talents. Kill them all. It's best if we kill them all. In the depths of a snake cave, the sounding snake controlled by Han Fei was also poisoned and was vomiting and having diarrhea. At that moment, through the void lines, Han Fei even had a feeling that he was vomiting and having diarrhea. It was really a particularly terrifying experience. A large number of sounding snakes were going crazy. After only about 10 minutes, the sounding snake controlled by Han Fei was killed by several sounding snakes. And the other sounding snakes were also fighting each other. It was a mess in the snake cave. Blood was everywhere, and filth was sprayed everywhere. Suddenly, a hoarse and terrifying roar came from the depths of the cave. Han Fei's heart stirred. He immediately got up and quietly slipped away. God knew how strong the Snake King was. What if he was found hiding under the valley? Of course, Han Fei ran away, but the void lines were still attached to the body of the sounding snake. The ground began to shake. In the valley, the ground was bulging, and the bulge was getting higher and higher. When Han Fei ran 50 kilometers away, he sensed Luo Xiaobai and the others again. At this moment, many people had woken up and were sitting cross-legged to recover. Han Fei said, "Run away, the Snake King is going crazy." Luo Xiaobai was speechless. Because she couldn't sense where Han Fei was, Han Fei could only send a one-way voice transmission to her. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai suddenly stood up. "Everyone, retreat. A powerful creature has appeared." In fact, without Luo Xiaobai saying anything, they could already feel the ground shaking. For a moment, everyone's face changed drastically, and they ran wildly. Sure enough, relics were not easy to break into. At this moment, Han Fei cast several arrays on himself. He lay on the top of the mountain, motionless, only staring at the valley. Boom! A violent roar sounded. Han Fei's heart trembled, his eyes turned red, and the killing desire in his heart burst out. However, he had prepared mint leaves. As soon as he stuffed them in his mouth, his head immediately sobered up, and he forcibly suppressed this crazy, bloodthirsty impulse. However, it was unknown whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. After the Snake King's attack, the remaining 11 sea demons were all enraged. Han Fei felt that they were burning their essence, blood, and vitality. Puff, puff, puff. One after another, ordinary-sounding snakes were slaughtered by them. After all, these people had gone crazy. This was no longer playing with their lives, but suicide. Bam! The ground was shattering. Seeing this scene, Han Fei frowned. He gritted his teeth, took out all the remaining 40 caddies of Poison God, wrapped it in infinity water, and threw it directly at the Snake King that was about to break out of the ground. Gulp! Han Fei swallowed. "If your head comes out first, I'll feed you to death." In the next moment, with a bang, a huge head popped out, its scarlet tongue flicked out, and its red eyes aimed directly at the sky. Now, suddenly, the infinity water rushed into the snake's mouth, along with 40 caddies of Poison God. After finishing this, Han Fei immediately controlled the void lines and frantically went deeper into the underground snake cave. The big snake was furious and rose from the ground. Its first thought was to spit out the damn thing that had just drilled into its body. However, How could it spit out the infinity water so easily? Han Fei didn't want to. Why would it spit it out? Like a dragon coming out of its hole. As soon as the big snake appeared, it swallowed the sky. 8 sea demons, plus 5 or 6 ordinary-sounding snakes, were swallowed by it. It was looking for which son of AB *TCH had sneak attacked it. Han Fei didn't know what to do. He was still holding the dragon's sting fishing rod in his hand. Sure enough, the big snake king glanced in his direction. At that moment, Han Fei summoned the Overlord. At the same time, a wisp of soul fire floated out and sank into the Overlord's body. Swish! Han Fei opened the phantom glass wings and dropped a dozen sea-swallowing seashells on the ground before he ran away as fast as he could. Quickly, the poison will take effect. Quickly, the poison will take effect. The big snake's body was wriggling wildly, and its insides were already tumbling. At the moment when Han Fei ran away, it quickly pulled its body out of the ground and rushed over. Damn, is this body really that strong? Chao Chio, you bastard. Even the super-enhanced version of Poison God is not strong enough. Swish! Han Fei rushed out like a flash of light and instantly activated the agility of wind. However, Han Fei was still greedy at this time. The position of the big snake had been exposed, so he couldn't grab the treasures with the void lines. Therefore, he left the Overlord in Snowmorn and left some sea-swallowing seashells for the Overlord so that the Overlord could grab the treasures after the big snake chased him far away. This was the thought that flashed through Han Fei's mind the moment the snake eyes saw him. In the seawater, an extremely thin white line shuttled across. It was a sonic boom effect caused by Han Fei's speed in the water. At this moment, Han Fei had combined the Overlord's technique, the agility of wind, and the sea racing art. His speed should be even faster than that of a junior law enforcer. After all, the sea racing art was a straight-running art. There was no shelter in the water, so he could go straight. And dozens of kilometers behind Han Fei, a huge snake more than 300 meters long was chasing him crazily. Its speed was even faster than Han Fei's. Luo Xiaobai and the others had just run more than 100 kilometers when they saw a behemoth chasing Han Fei's rushing figure with their naked eyes. Gulp! Luren Kuang swallowed. Oh my! Oh, see God! Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. What a big snake! Luo Xiaobai's face changed slightly. It seems to have wings, and it's faster than Han Fei. As for those who had been saved by Han Fei, they were all shocked at this moment, watching this pursuit that was on a completely different level. Someone said in shock, Han Fei, isn't he too exaggerated? And he's carrying a fishing rod? Is he fishing for a big snake? Chapter 899. Looking at the huge figure, everyone suddenly felt powerless. Fortunately, he didn't go exploring the valley on a whim. Otherwise, with such a large snake, it wouldn't even feel anything when it was swallowed. It wouldn't even be qualified to be a snack. Someone's face changed drastically. What should we do? How? How can we save it? Someone sighed. Han Fei, how dare he catch it? Someone rolled his eyes. Bullsh *T. Why don't you try to catch one? Someone nodded. Han Fei must have used some means of attack with his fishing rod. He can't be stupid enough to catch such a big thing with a fishing rod. Someone was speechless and glanced at the Luo Xiaobai trio on the side. Anyway, your Thug Academy is really the most fearless academy I have ever seen. Luo Xiaobai's face changed. Chase it. The others can do as they please. The others could only smile bitterly. The point is that we can't catch up with it. Even if we can catch up with it, we can't beat it. However, for the Luo Xiaobai trio, whether they could catch up with it or not, they couldn't just stand by and watch. They had to catch up with it first. As they spoke, the Luo Xiaobai trio had already flown out. Because the big snake was so strong that wherever it passed, even the soul eaters didn't appear or dared not to appear. After all, no matter how disgusting the soul eaters were, they still had some intelligence. They could kill humans and sea demons, but this sounding Snake King could crush a bunch of them with its tail. Who would stupidly rush up? Wasn't that courting death? At the moment when Han Fei and the others rushed out, our student overlord, Han Fei, was quietly sneaking into the huge snake hole. Just now, when the big snake came out, it just took a casual bite and killed all the sounding snakes and sea demons fighting in the sky. At this moment, there were only 2 or 3 sea demons left, and they were about to die. The Overlord held Frostmourne in one hand and drilled into the broken snake hole. Why did Han Fei leave Frostmourne to the Overlord? It was mainly because at this level, the Overlord's power was no longer enough to change the situation. Frostmourne could make the Overlord have the combat power close to that of an advanced Hidden Fisher. Although Frostmourne was a sea-quelling bizarre treasure, who could erase Han Fei's mark on this ancient battlefield, be it humans or sea demons. Even if he did, who would dare to make Snowmourne acknowledge him as its master? Moreover, Frostmourne had been with him for so long. Even if it was taken away, Han Fei was sure that as long as he was alive, he could easily find it. At that time, whoever snatched Frostmourne would be killed. Inside the Snake Cave, because of the Mingxi King's rampage just now, many ordinary Mingxi were directly crushed to death. In addition, 50 kilograms of poison god exploded in the Snake Cave. Although it was not close to the center, it still exploded in a group of sounding snakes. Now, in the Snake Cave, countless sounding snakes were fighting each other, and blood was everywhere. The tyrant jumped into the hole and saw a pile of meat paste when he landed. A few hundred meters away, a large number of sounding snakes were biting and fighting. Han Fei saw the 3 bodies at a glance and stored them in his swallowing seashell without saying anything. And the little tree, no matter what quality the spiritual fruit was, he just uprooted it. Because this was originally the habitat of the Mingxi King, ordinary sounding snakes were very afraid of this place. Therefore, after doing all this unscrupulously, Han Fei could still take a look inside. As a result, Han Fei found something strange at the end of the big hole. This was a big hole in the belly of the mountain with snake eggs everywhere. And in the center of the snake eggs, there was a round pit in which there was a pool of green spirit awakening fluid. Han Fei was amused by this scene. He rushed over and frantically poured it into the swallowing seashell. Unfortunately, this pit was not big, and it was only 2 meters deep. Only 500,000 kilograms? Isn't this a scam? They occupy such a large snake nest and only leave 500,000 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid for their eggs? That's not enough. However, on second thought, Han Fei felt that this was reasonable. How many years had passed in this damn place? Besides, with so many sounding snakes in the Snake Cave, it was a miracle that the spirit awakening fluid hadn't been drunk up. Han Fei suspected that if it weren't for these snake eggs here, there wouldn't even be a little spirit awakening fluid left. After putting away the spirit awakening fluid, Han Fei found that the sounding snake was running towards him. Immediately, Han Fei cursed. How long has it been since I came in? Forget it. I don't have time to waste here. I have to run quickly. If I'm slow, I won't be able to run away. More than 600 kilometers away from the sounding snake mine, the big snake seemed to sense something. Looking back, it became even more furious. Oh, clang. The demonic sound rippled, and Han Fei cursed in the wild. Will it go back at this time? If it goes back now, the Overlord can't beat this thing. Besides, what made Han Fei very depressed was that he had fed 40 kilograms of poison god to this snake, but it could still catch up with him so fast. At this moment, the distance between the two had been reduced from 50 kilometers to less than 40 kilometers. I can't go on like this. It will catch up with me sooner or later. 10,000 knives in one. In the body of the big snake, the infinity water was cutting frantically like a hovering knife. But this big snake's physique was too strong. Even in its stomach, Han Fei could feel that the infinity water was a little obscure and powerless. Damn, infinity water. Can't you at least try harder? Han Fei was speechless. With his current realm and strength, the infinity water should have the destructive power of a semi-divine weapon. But it shouldn't be. As an important weapon of a city, it shouldn't have such little power. How on earth do I use this thing? How do I use it? While thinking, Han Fei perceived that more than 80 kilometers away, there was a team of 6 sea demons fighting with several soul eaters. Immediately, Han Fei used the 64-dimensional fish dragon dance and changed his direction to the flying fish technique, and then immediately changed back. Just because of this little bit of time, the big snake caught up with him for more than 3 kilometers. Son of AB asterisk TCH, let's go. Dozens of kilometers away, the half-mermaids had just killed this soul eater, and they didn't even need to perceive it. When they looked up, they saw a white light rushing towards them in the distance. Someone shouted, "Pay attention to defense. The newcomer is so fast." Oh no, that's Phantom Wings? Han Fei, it's Han Fei. A captain-level powerhouse shouted, "Sea God descends. This opportunity is to go to the royal city." Sea King, what the hell is that behind us? Hiss, run. There's a terrifying creature chasing this guy. Just now, they wanted to try to snipe Han Fei. But at this moment, how could they snipe him? How could they snipe this thing? Behind Han Fei, there was such a huge figure. Just by looking at its head, they knew it was not easy to deal with. Han Fei was obviously bringing trouble to them. Han Fei said to the big snake behind him via voice transmission, "Bastard, my teammates are just ahead. If you keep chasing me, I'll call my teammates." Clang! The demonic sound exploded, and the escaping sea demons suddenly stopped. They turned around and charged at Han Fei with ferocious eyes. At this time, Han Fei took out an energy fruit, stuffed it into his mouth, and said to the big snake via voice transmission, "You're doomed. I tell you, you're doomed. My teammates are very strong." Han Fei looked at the big snake opposite him and used Sea God Descends. He didn't fight them head-on. At the moment when they were about to meet, he flashed out 9 shadows in a row and passed by them. Oh, as if he had done a trivial thing, Han Fei continued to think about the use of the infinity water, and the sea demons behind him were doomed. Sure enough, as Han Fei expected, the sea demons who were still chasing Han Fei found that Han Fei had run far away and the big snake was rushing over. Sea God Strike, Whale Ride, BEM. The huge red wings swept across the sky. What's Sea God Strike or Ghost God Strike? The sea demons were smashed to pieces by the serpent's wings. Puff! Han Fei was surprised. Is there something coming out of the body of this big snake? He pinched his fingers and was shocked. This be asterisk starred. Can it detoxify itself? The distance between the two sides was almost shortened to 30 kilometers. Han Fei was extremely anxious. What's going on? Han Fei recalled the scene when he got the infinity water for the first time. Being in the water column, he didn't feel anything, but the cave was already full of knife marks. Could the infinity water only be used as a weapon? He had tried many methods later, except that his soul could control its form. Its attack power should be growing with him. But if it was just this, it shouldn't be called the treasure of a city. After all, based on the abilities and attributes it had shown so far, it should be at most at the level of a sea-quelling bizarre treasure. But how could the heavenly desolate city be an ordinary small city? Han Fei believed that when the heavenly desolate city just fell, there must be a lot of strong masters in the city. At least no less than the Scattered Stars Island, and even more than the Thousand Star City. After swimming for more than 100 kilometers, Han Fei encountered a group of human beings. Because he was in a straight line, Han Fei immediately said, "Everyone get out of the way." However, the group of people looked dumbfounded. They didn't even know where the voice came from. Han Fei gritted his teeth, changed his movement technique again, and changed his direction. As a result, the big snake's pursuit was already within 30 kilometers. After a moment, the group of 5 people was dumbfounded when they saw Han Fei and the big snake passing by in the distance. Someone asked in confusion, "Han Fei? What's that thing chasing after him?" Someone sighed. "Is it a snake?" Someone was speechless. "Have you ever seen a snake with wings? More than 300 meters? Oh my God, did Han Fei save our lives?" It seems so. Someone was speechless. But why is he holding a fishing rod in his hand? Is he fishing for a snake? Chapter 900. Along the way, Han Fei rushed over whenever he met a sea monster. When he met a human, he would send a voice transmission in advance. If the other party still didn't dodge, Han Fei could only take the initiative to dodge. 1 hour later, Han Fei burst into tears. Hey, Mr. Snake, I was just joking with you. Why are you targeting me? At this moment, the distance between the two sides was only about 15 kilometers, which had shrunk by half. Han Fei felt that although the big snake was injured, it wasn't seriously injured. In just 1 hour, at least hundreds of people had recognized Han Fei. The number of enemies killed by Han Fei with the help of the big snake had also reached more than 50. However, every time he changed directions, the big snake would inevitably catch up with him. Han Fei felt that when the big snake emptied all the poison god, it would catch up with him like a piece of cake. No, I can't change directions anymore. I have to find a way to kill this guy. The sky dissecting finger? Han Fei thought for a while and felt it was a pity. That was equivalent to a venerable attack. He couldn't use that thing unless he had to. The flood dragon Old Han gave you. Wait a minute. It took Old Han a long time to draw this array. It's a pity to use it here. I haven't even found the boneyard yet. I haven't entered the underground city yet. Find Chao Chiu. Han Fei thought of something. He didn't have anything that could resist the big snake. Fuse. Han Fei immediately activated the Yin-Yang Divine Eyes, and Han Fei's speed increased a little. Hoop. After half an hour, the big snake was already within 10 kilometers of him. Han Fei didn't have time to ask Little White to find Chao Chiu's location. He just needed to know the general direction. At this moment, Han Fei was no longer so calm because he was in a crazy escape. Even with the peppermint leaves in his mouth to help him alleviate Little Black's violence, the big snake behind him would occasionally knock on his head and bewitch his mind. Damn it! Han Fei suddenly turned around, and the dragon sting fishing rod in his hand was filled with spiritual energy and shot straight out. Explode. Rumble. The self-explosion of the semi-divine weapon fell directly on the snake's head. After all, this big snake chased him in a straight line. In order to catch up with Han Fei, it ignored the dragon's sting fishing rod and directly crashed into it. Within a radius of several hundred miles, the seawater shook violently. Huge waves rolled in all directions. As a result, Han Fei was caught up a little bit more. In Han Fei's perception, there were many wounds on the snake head, and blood was flowing out. It seemed that the explosion of semi-divine weapons could hurt it. Unfortunately, it's just an external wound. Wait, can the infinity water explode? Han Fei suddenly frowned. The infinity water is just a drop of water. It was only because this drop of water could transform into countless water weapons that it was called the endless water. As a drop of water, after exploding, it was nothing more than a drop of water. Han Fei frowned. Previously, he had never thought of this because no one would have thought of blowing up an important weapon of a city. But now, Han Fei suspected that the infinity water could detonate itself. He pinched his fingers together and divined, but he didn't have any bad premonitions. Immediately, Han Fei's heart skipped a beat. Li Huang, even if the infinity water is gone, I can fulfill my promise to you in the future. Han Fei's eyes became fierce. Explode. Rumble. This time, the billowing waves instantly rushed Han Fei 7 or 8 kilometers away. He couldn't even stabilize his body and was directly rolled out with the waves. And the huge body of the big snake fell directly to the ground, leaving a long mark thousands of meters long. In Han Fei's perception, the big snake's body was badly mutilated. Many places had been penetrated, and the blood was mixed in the flying sand, which looked very weird. Han Fei finally stabilized his body more than 20 kilometers away. He quickly stuffed an energy fruit into his mouth, turned around, and swam towards the big snake. As he thought of something, in all directions, within dozens of kilometers, wisps of water were quickly gathering. Not long after, a drop of water gathered in the palm of his hand. Ha ha ha! You old mongrel, big snake head, hothead, big blockhead. Come on, chase him. Try chasing me again. Aren't you supposed to be pretty capable? He chased me until I had nowhere to go. Han Fei thought of something, and the infinity water mixed in the seawater again and poured into the wound on the abdomen of the big snake again. Explode. Rumble. Han Fei was once again sent flying by the terrifying explosion. In the seawater, He rolled for dozens of kilometers before he barely stopped. The terrifying and destructive explosion was like a small mushroom cloud. It was so powerful that some wounds appeared on Han Fei's hands and face. However, Han Fei was obviously taken aback. The power of the second self-explosion was much weaker than the first time. Could it be that the infinity water was also broken? No, it wasn't broken, but the power of the self-explosion had become weaker. Han Fei sensed something and didn't plan to continue self-explosion. These two explosions would cause turbulence within at least 1,000 kilometers. Many people would definitely feel it, but it didn't matter. He had developed a new way to use the infinity water, and this thing was not afraid of self-explosion at all. Besides, the power of its self-explosion was definitely at the level of a divine weapon. Only a self-explosion of this level could be so violent and powerful. Even if the power of the self-explosion would be reduced, it didn't matter. If he used the phantom glass wings too much, he would have to give them time to cool down. The huge body of the big snake, which was more than 300 meters long, was full of fine bloody holes, and one of its wings was directly blown up. Han Fei was dozens of kilometers away from the big snake, but he was still sent flying, and the infinity water exploded in the body of the big snake. At this moment, the big snake's head was drooping to the ground, and its two snake eyes were badly mutilated. It was probably blind. When Han Fei approached, information appeared in his eyes. Name: ancient-sounding snake, extremely weak. Introduction: an ancient gregarious sea snake that lives in mineral deposits. Wherever the sounding snake is, there is no vegetation and blood. It has 4 wings that are comparable to divine weapons. Its wings vibrate like hitting a plate, which can enchant people's minds, drive them crazy, and make people kill each other. This is a species of the ancient-sounding snake. Its combat power is amazing with the power of 10 waves. Level 67, quality legendary, contains spiritual energy greater than 69,185 points, edible effect. If you take the ancient sounding bead, you can hear thousands of kilometers away. Collectible ancient sounding bead, absorbable. Remarks: the sounding snake is a symbol of disaster. Once the snake comes out of its hole, disaster will spread everywhere. Han Fei's eyes widened. He had the judgment of legendary creatures for a long time. However, the ability of the listening clairvoyance surprised Han Fei. How could there be such a strange sense of hearing? However, now there was a problem in front of Han Fei. Should he use the ability of the listening clairvoyance or throw this big snake into the demon purification pot? Legendary creatures were certainly rare. If he missed this one, he didn't know where the next one would be. Han Fei waved his hand, and the infinity water gathered in his hand again. This time, when Han Fei gathered the infinity water, he found that in the seawater, something was pouring into the infinity water crazily. No, to be precise, the infinity water was absorbing something in the seawater. Han Fei couldn't help frowning. Sure enough, the energy contained in the infinity water was being consumed, so it needed to absorb energy from the water. Anyway, he didn't need the infinity water for the time being. After the infinity water exploded twice in its body, the big snake was dying. Han Fei canceled the fusion and said to Little Black, "Little Black, eat the snake gall. Suck it dry." Han Fei gave up on subduing this big snake, mainly because the listening clairvoyance was too tempting. Besides, this big snake was a treasure, and the snake gall was also a great tonic. Little Black would like it very much. With a thought, Little Fatty appeared. When Little Fatty saw this big snake, it subconsciously wanted to run away. But Han Fei shouted, "Why are you running? You're already like this, so what are you afraid of? Hurry up and suck its blood dry." Little Fatty was stunned. "You killed it?" Han Fei said angrily. "What do you mean by you? I am your master. Don't you believe in your master's strength? Hurry up and suck it dry." Without saying a word, Little Fatty's big suckers had already sucked the body of the ancient-sounding snake. Unfortunately, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and Little Gold couldn't use it, which made Han Fei a little helpless. After a while, the ancient-sounding snake began to thrash, and roar resounded through the bottom of the sea. It should be Little Black's big mouth that was gnawing its snake gall. Gradually, after more than 100 breaths of time, the giant snake finally died. Han Fei stepped on its huge snake head with one foot. Who asked you to chase me? Who asked you to chase me? If you have the guts, chase me again. I'll blow you up. Cursing for a while, Han Fei spent a lot of effort to dig out the sounding bead. When Little Black came back, he was a little wobbly. Han Fei seemed to have a hunch. Is Little Black going to make a breakthrough? No, it's on the verge of a breakthrough, but not yet. Even Little White was a little confused and his body was shaking. With a thought, he stored Little Black and Little White into Forge the Universe. There was a spiritual spring and spirit awakening fluid there. They could go anywhere they wanted. As a result, Little Black and Little White chose a small pond, which was just pure seawater. Huh, can I make a breakthrough in the sea? Little Black and Little White were so confused that Han Fei didn't dare to take them into the Soul Sea. He didn't know if there were any secrets in the Soul Sea. When things here were over, he had to find a way to enter the Soul Sea to study it. Little Black and Little White couldn't use them for the time being. Little Fatty sucked for a long time, and a red light flashed on its body, but unfortunately, it didn't upgrade. Little Fatty said, "After sucking its essence blood, my comprehensive strength has been stabilized. With one more such creature, I can completely stabilize it. Then, I can continue to swallow spirit awakening fluid." Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Where can I find such a creature? Forget it, forget it. It's good enough to stabilize my realm. Suddenly, Han Fei perceived that someone was approaching. It was Chao Tian, Chao Qiu, and the others. Not only Chao Tian and the others, but also a group of sea demons, Yi Baiyu, and a few others. Han Fei was speechless. I've been looking for you for a long time. What's the use of coming here now? At this time, Han Fei didn't want to stay with this group of people. The Overlord was still in the Sounding Snake Mine. He had to find the Overlord as soon as possible. Perhaps because the distance was too far, Han Fei was not sure about the state of his soul at the moment. At this moment, it seemed to be on the run. Immediately, Han Fei put away Little Fatty, pressed a hand on the corpse of the huge, sounding snake, and put it into Forge the Universe. Swish! Glancing in the direction of Chao Qiu and the others, Han Fei smiled. Go ahead. I'm leaving by. Chapter 901. When he went back, Han Fei was possessed by Little Gold, and the phantom glass wings could still be used. But before that, he had been swallowing energy fruits and using the agility of wind. At this moment, he couldn't use the agility of wind and the Overlord's technique. Only Little Gold was the fastest. After a moment, Chao Tian and the others rushed to the place where the ancient sounding snake fell. Looking at the huge pit on the ground and the strong bloody smell in the sea, they couldn't help but look shocked. Chao Tian's eyes flickered. The power of a law enforcer, and not just a junior law enforcer. Chao Qiu shivered. Look at the marks left on the ground. How big must the creature be to make such terrible scratches? Yi Baiyu rushed out and searched around. There is no trace. That person has already run away. So fast. Chao Jiaran suddenly took out the flute on her waist and played it softly. As the flute sounded, an illusion appeared in the water. After a while, Chao Jiaran stopped playing and said lightly, Han Fei. What? Han Fei? Chao Qiu's eyes widened. Impossible. Han Fei just became a hidden fisher a few days ago. This power, Chao Jiaran said lightly. Don't forget, Han Fei killed a law enforcer, one-on-one. Chao Tian's eyes narrowed, and after a long time, he said, Let's go. Don't chase him. Since it is Han Fei, we will meet him sooner or later. Yi Baiyu suddenly rushed back. The sea demons are coming. Do you want to fight side by side? Chao Tian showed a silly smile. No, let's go our separate ways. After a while, a roar broke out here again. Chao Qiu and the other two gradually disappeared. On the ground, the remains of 9 sea demons were left. Luo Xiaobai and the others were chasing Han Fei. However, Han Fei's speed was too fast. At this moment, they had only rushed 1/3 of the way. When Han Fei came back, the two sides happened to meet halfway. Lu Renquang immediately shouted, Fei Fei here. Where's the snake? Where's the snake? Zhang Xuanyu had a bitter look on his face. Fei Fei, are you okay? Why are you back? With that said, Zhang Xuanyu stared straight at Han Fei's back. Luo Xiaobai said, Did you get rid of it? Han Fei was lost for words. Why are you following us? Zhang Xuanyu said, Of course I have to keep up. Who knows, he might be of some help. Han Fei said angrily, Shouldn't you explore the valley? It wasn't easy for me to lure the serpent away. Didn't you take the opportunity to take a look? Luren Kuang rolled his eyes. I was too busy chasing you to care about the snake cave. Han Fei immediately said, Let's go to the snake cave. Luo Xiaobai asked in confusion, Where is the serpent? Han Fei nodded. Yes. Pooh. Cough cough. What? How'd you do it? Han Fei moved. Let's talk on the way. After swimming for a while, Han Fei suddenly said, Forget it, Xiaobai. Can you find the spiritual plant field you mentioned? Luo Xiaobai frowned. Why? Sure. Han Fei said, Let's separate. I was faster. I went because Overlord was still there, and so was Snowmorn. I had to get them back. There shouldn't be any relics there, so you don't have to go there. You go to the next place. I'll find you later. Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise, Did you leave the sea-quelling bazaar treasure there? Luren Kuang was shocked. Will it be robbed by others? Zhang Xuanyu said, No, we have to go back with you. A sea-quelling bazaar treasure is stronger than the semi-divine weapons here. If others rob it, how can we get it back? Han Fei said, Don't worry. I've even killed the serpent. Is there anyone here that I can't kill? Go quickly. I found Chao Tian and the others on the other side. Keep a distance. Remember, if there's a big crisis, don't rush in. Luo Xiaobai nodded slightly. If you're not here, I will be very safe. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. Okay, let's talk later. I'm going to find Overlord first. At this moment, Han Fei vaguely felt that Overlord seemed to be fleeing and was no longer in the snake cave. If the four of them returned together, they would only slow him down. He patted Little Gold and said, Let's go find Overlord. Along the way, Han Fei was looking at the drop of infinity water in his palm. Since the infinity water self-detonated, it had been absorbing a kind of water vapor, or the essence of water. Han Fei had a guess. The self-detonation of the infinity water was strong, but it couldn't be infinite. After it self-detonated, it would need to absorb the energy of the water like the phantom glass wings did. Now, Han Fei wanted to see how long it would take for the infinity water to absorb enough water vapor and return to its original state. Han Fei sat on Little Gold. Occasionally, some soul eaters popped up, but Han Fei ignored them. Little Gold was not slow. If he just wanted to hurry, those soul eaters couldn't catch up with him. Han Fei didn't intend to absorb the ancient singing bead immediately. Han Fei also had to be careful that when he was absorbing, someone suddenly jumped out next to him. If he failed at the last step, the big serpent would be killed in vain. Little Black and Little White were now circling in the waterhole in Forge the Universe. The two little guys were circling in a circle, and Han Fei didn't know what they were doing. However, the Overlord's divine soul was still there, and he could sense its location. After more than 2 hours, Han Fei suddenly felt a tingling in his head. Was the Overlord destroyed? Damn it! Which son of AB** TCH is so bold? He even dared to cripple my clone? Swish! Little Gold attached to his body, and Han Fei rushed out. He bit another energy fruit in his mouth to ensure that when he found the Overlord, he would still have enough combat power. Half an hour later, a team of more than 20 sea demons was gathering together to rest. Among them, there was an acquaintance of Han Fei, Yuji. The Overlord was also discovered by Yuji. Fortunately, she had just broken through to the sea demon realm, so she was able to enter this ancient battlefield. Someone cursed, "We've been chasing this iron lump for a long time. It turns out that it's a semi-divine weapon." Someone shouted, "Full recovery. If this is a semi-divine weapon, where is its owner?" A heavenly talent said, "It's very likely that it's in the valley just now. When we went in, we saw it. How many people died there? That snake bewitched people, causing 13 of us to die." Yuji frowned and said, "No, Yu Fei is not dead. If Yu Fei is dead, How can this puppet escape? A captain-level powerhouse said, Yuji, are you sure this puppet belongs to you, Faye? Yuji nodded. I'm very sure. When we were in the demonic forest channel, this puppet cooperated with Yufei. If you insist on who this puppet belongs to, it is definitely Yufei. Someone frowned and said, Yufei? How did an Azure Sea Blue demon sneak in? There are no Azure Sea Blue demons in the crowd this time, not to mention the human side. Yuji shook her head. I don't know, but I think we have to get out of here as soon as possible. A heavenly talent said disdainfully, Run? Don't you know how strong Yufei was at that time? High-level demon transformation realm. No matter how fast his cultivation is, how long has it been? He has just entered the sea demon realm. Even if he is at the peak of the elementary sea demon realm, there's so many of us. Are we afraid of him? I think we can use this puppet to attract him. In the end, killing him will definitely be a great achievement. A powerhouse at the peak of the sea demon realm nodded. Yes, even if he is already at the peak of the sea demon realm, he can't win. Even if he reaches the sea spirit realm, he can't win against so many of us. With that said, the powerhouse held Frostmourne and said, This sword should be extremely extraordinary. It is definitely a high-quality divine weapon. Even in our 10,000 Demon Valley, it is difficult to find such a weapon. Yuji still wanted to say something, but she didn't have a chance. She wanted to say that if Yufei was so easy to deal with, there wouldn't have been so many people killed. In the battle of the demonic forest channel, we might not even lose. 80 kilometers away. Hanfei's perception swept across, because Hanfei's soul power at the moment was stronger than these people's. So no one discovered it. Yuji? Ha! On the battlefield, I won't show mercy. Seeing that they were resting, Hanfei didn't panic. They couldn't use Frostmourne, so he had enough time to kill them. At this moment, Hanfei took out a few fish skin maps and began to draw arrays. Hey, as long as I can trap you, I'll bury you all with my overlord. A trapping array was not enough. Hanfei also drew 2 killing arrays and a dazzling white light array. After half an hour, 20 kilometers away, Hanfei carefully moved towards them bit by bit. If it weren't for the fact that Little Black and Little White were in a special state, hiding in Little Black's mouth would be the best way. At this moment, in order to prevent these people from escaping, Hanfei had to approach them carefully. At this distance, he had to be at least 10 kilometers away from them. After all, since Yuji saw the Overlord, she must have guessed that Yufei was also there. And if he appeared, they would easily associate him with Yufei. As long as one escaped, his identity was very likely to be exposed. Just when Hanfei was about 15 kilometers away from these people, someone suddenly looked in his direction. Hanfei immediately stood still. But someone still narrowed his eyes and said, Something's wrong. Everyone be on guard. Hanfei bared his teeth. This son of AB*TCH's perception was quite strong. Immediately, Hanfei controlled the void lines to hook the ground 7 or 8 kilometers away, pulling up a piece of sand. These people immediately looked there. Hanfei activated the Overlord's technique, attached little gold to his body, and transformed into Sun Mu's face with 1,000 changes technique. In the instant that these people's gazes shifted elsewhere, he instantly dashed out like a hurricane. The moment Hanfei's figure appeared, all the sea demons' faces changed. However, they were all taken aback. Golden red wings. Where did a human hidden fisher get golden red wings? Hanfei roared. It's everyone's responsibility to kill sea demons. I, Sun Mu of the 1,000-Star City, am a heavenly talent, unparalleled and invincible among my peers. Today, I will kill you to serve mankind. A large group of sea demons were taken aback and then looked dumbfounded. An intermediate hidden fisher? Is there something wrong with this guy's head? Someone shouted, Watch out! Is there an ambush? Hanfei roared. Why do I need an ambush to kill you? Why don't you go to the Scattered Stars Island and ask who I am? You little rascals, die. Chapter 902. Being called by Hanfei like this, no normal person would escape. At least, when Hanfei didn't show his strength, they wouldn't escape. They were sent here to kill people. How could they run away when they met someone? A heavenly talent shouted angrily, "You're just an intermediate hidden fisher. How dare you talk nonsense? Let me kill you." The man broke through the water, activated the Sea King's secret method, and launched the Sea God Strike. The golden harpoon shone brightly on the bottom of the sea. "Hey, 9 mansions dragon seal." Han Fei punched, and a big seal appeared, and a dragon roared and shook the sea. With a bang, the heavenly talent was sent flying, and the golden harpoon in his hand was bent by the blow. Han Fei's powerful blow immediately made the sea demon's eyes light up. A powerhouse at the peak level of the sea demon realm launched a powerful attack, riding a whale and slapping the waves. However, at this moment, Han Fei was already within 5 kilometers of them. Overlord's technique. With a bang, the golden fist mark crushed the whale and shattered it. When the powerhouse at the peak level of the sea demon realm launched the Sea God Descends, Han Fei had already approached them. Han Fei smiled and said, "Don't you think it's too late?" Gravity. Han Fei landed on the ground, turned his hand over, and more than 40 million kilograms of gravity pressed down. Almost everyone fell to the ground in an instant. A junior hidden fisher vomited blood and even found it extremely difficult to stand up. At that moment, Han Fei waved his hand, and a fish skin map appeared. Within 300 meters, a maze rose, and a defensive array condensed. Boop! The golden red wings were folded, and the phantom glass wings spread out. With a swish, Han Fei disappeared on the spot. Several shadows condensed in the air, and he had appeared in front of a powerhouse at the peak level of the sea demon realm. "I told you, it's too late to escape now." Boom! The fist mark rumbled, and the void lines clasped his soul. Han Fei walked on the seabed, holding a kitchen knife in his hand, and his figure kept flashing. Under the gravity, no one below the advanced sea demon realm could resist his knife. In an instant, more than 20 people were reduced to only 8. All the sea demons who were still alive were horrified and shocked. Some people were horrified, regretting that they hadn't listened to Yuji and left earlier. Yuji was not dead yet. She looked at the scene in shock. "Han Fei, you are Han Fei." Han Fei grinned and glanced at Yuji lazily. "Oh, you just found out? You don't look very smart, Yazzie." When their eyes met, Yuji suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Who the hell are you?" Han Fei smiled. "Have you guessed it? TSK, TSK. You can also call me Yufei." Buzz. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was horrified, and their eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. How is this possible? Yuji's eyes were full of disbelief. How is that possible?" Han Fei grabbed a random energy fruit and took a bite. "Why not? Aren't you sea demons able to change into soul humans? What's wrong with me becoming a siren? Thank you for taking me back to the myriad demon valley. You're a good person." Yuji was stunned. She found Yufei more than 500,000 kilometers deep in the 10,000 demon valley. That was the sea area more than 5 million kilometers away from the Scattered Stars Island. Why did Han Fei appear there? But now, it was useless to think about it. The facts were already in front of her, and Han Fei himself had admitted it. Shameless human die. A powerhouse at the peak level of the sea demon realm took action. Sea God Descends. He resisted gravity and tried to attack. But at the moment he stood up, a harpoon directly pierced him. The golden harpoon vibrated, and this person's internal organs were all damaged. The sea demon looked back incredulously, only to see that his teammate, who had just been blown away by Han Fei, was now attacking him expressionlessly, his face full of confusion and doubt. Why? The sea demon captain bared his steel teeth. "Because I'm also Yufei." At that moment, all the people who were still alive felt panic from the depths of their souls. What the hell is going on? Someone screamed and burned his blood to escape. However, when the light and shadow flashed past, Han Fei was already in front of him, punching him in the forehead. Han Fei sneered. "Killing my puppets and robbing my resources. You're the first one who dares to do this. Did your king give you so much power? You won't believe me, but I don't even dare to rob my own things." Swish, swish, swish. Han Fei's figure flickered, raised his knife, and in the blink of an eye, this group of sea demons was all killed. Leaving Yu alive, Han Fei squatted on the ground. In the other party's fearful and hateful eyes, he slowly said, "To tell the truth, you are really a good person. At least, compared to your race, you're not bad." Bah! Yu spat at Han Fei, but the water rippled and the saliva disappeared in an instant. Yu roared, "Shameless." Han Fei clicked his tongue and said, "Tsk, I am not a good person. If he became a demon, he would definitely not be a good demon. I thought I wouldn't kill you if I didn't meet you. Unfortunately, you chose to throw yourself at me. What a pity. For the sake of the human race, I can only ask you to die." Yu roared, "You Fei, Lord, you will not let you go. My master will not let you go." Han Fei curled his lips and said, "Blue feather? Ha! Maybe he doesn't even know what he is doing. How dare he participate in this kind of trap? Do you really think that an explorer-level character can participate in this kind of thing?" Yu was shocked. "What do you mean?" Han Fei shrugged. "You won't understand, even if I tell you. Remember, if you have a chance in your next life, reincarnate as a human. Maybe you can become a good person." Puff. He put away the knife, and Yu died. Even with the immortal seal, it was just one more knife. After a while, Han Fei put away everyone's sea-swallowing seashells. Finally, he found Snowmorn again. At the same time, he also found the more than 500,000 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid that the Overlord robbed. He had to admit that these people were quite powerful. There were a lot of good things in the sea-swallowing seashells. He made a small fortune again. Deactivating the gravity domain, Han Fei followed the perception of his soul power and found the Overlord's remnant body more than 800 kilometers away. Looking at the Overlord's body that was almost crushed, the soul fire that only had a few stars returned to Han Fei's mind. Han Fei couldn't help but shake his head. "It's a pity that I lost a wisp of soul fire for nothing. Overlord, I have to find a way to remake it." With a thought, Han Fei entered Forge the Universe. At this moment, he first took out the spiritual fruit that the Overlord picked up. Because no sea demon knew what this spiritual fruit was, no one ate it. In Han Fei's eyes, information emerged. Name, soul fruit, introduction, a soul fruit produced by the saliva of the sounding snake. It contains a lot of ownerless souls, which can resist soul attacks and reduce the temptation of the soul. Eating it can help the soul cultivation. Level, heavenly, quality, ultra quality, effect strengthens the soul and resists soul attacks and temptations. It is not effective for creatures above the explorer level. After eating it, the soul power cannot be improved with other spiritual fruits of the same kind within 3 years. Repeated consumption is ineffective. Wow, good stuff. Han Fei's eyes immediately lit up. Fortunately, these B** stars didn't eat it. Otherwise, he would have suffered a great loss. After all, this was a treasure that he had worked so hard to get. Strengthen the soul. I wonder if I can use it to cultivate the God-scaring painting? With this in mind, Han Fei swallowed the fruit of soul without hesitation. At that moment, his divine sea was clear and the God-scaring painting appeared. Immediately, Han Fei felt that the fragments of the God-scaring painting were unraveled piece by piece. 1 piece, 5 pieces, 10 pieces, 18 pieces. Suddenly, Han Fei saw a silver tip appear on the God-scaring painting. Only then did the soul fruit lose its effect. After all, the God-scaring painting was just a painting. If it was a painting, it should have a pattern. Although the lines on it could greatly enhance his soul and spiritual power when there was no pattern, Han Fei felt a little uncomfortable without a pattern. At this moment, the pattern appeared. It was a sharp spike like the tip of a spear. There was a dazzling light curtain on the spike, and it was full of killing intent. Oh my God, it's just a tip, and it's already so terrifying? If the entire pattern appears, what kind of scene would that be? Han Fei quickly checked his own information. Owner Han Fei, level greater than 56, intermediate hidden fisher, spiritual energy 432, 5681, 36999, spiritual power 4, 668/4, 668, perception range greater than 59,999 meters, spiritual heritage, level 7, low quality, spiritual beast, twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish, level 49. Main art, divine manipulation technique, level 5 of void fishing, heaven level, divine quality. I've memorized 18 pieces, but my perception range is stuck at 59,999 meters. Is there a bottleneck again? However, Han Fei was quite pleased with the breakthrough of his spiritual power. It was great that he could make a breakthrough. This time, the range of his perception had increased to 180 kilometers. No one would believe it even if he said it out loud, right? Of course, this was a breakthrough in his soul. Han Fei grabbed the ancient singing bead with a backhand. Han Fei stuffed it directly into his mouth. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. After a moment, Han Fei appeared at the bottom of the sea. As soon as he appeared, he heard the sound of fighting. Han Fei felt the ripples in the water. There was only an extremely slight tremor, which was beyond the range of his perception. According to the magnitude of this tremor, it should be 500 kilometers away. TSK. Let's go and have a look. Chapter 903. Han Fei planned to go to the snake cave first because there were still a lot of things there. He always felt that there should be more than a big snake there. However, compared with the snake cave, where he had already looted the treasures, the place where there was a battle was the most attractive to Han Fei. Because if there was a battle, there would be someone to rob. 500 kilometers away, in the reef group, Han Fei perceived an acquaintance 100 kilometers away. You Shire. Han Fei was speechless. This silly guy is fighting with sea demons. One person against 68 people? Besides, Han Fei saw nearly 40 sea demon corpses on the ground. Han Fei was stunned. It turned out that there was someone else besides him who could fight against 100 sea demons alone. The point was, why were there so many sea demons here? This didn't make sense. Didn't sea demons need opportunities? Did the sea demons have to travel in groups? If that was really the case, how could they have found humans on this ancient battlefield so easily? But at this moment, Shire was seriously injured. He was stained with blood, his abdomen was pierced, and a broken golden harpoon was inserted in his shoulder. Even so, Shire was still brave at this moment. At this moment, 3 people were bombarding him frantically with Sea God Descends. And Shire, holding a rod in one hand, had a big dragon shadow roaring behind him. The power of his rod was faintly visible. With each strike, a dragon shadow burst out. At this time, he held a long rod in one hand and stabbed straight at the opponent, and a huge force set off surging waves. In the next second, the rod was broken and the sea demon was killed. During this period, Shire was stabbed in the waist and sent flying. The huge reef was knocked down by Shire. However, even in midair, Shire could still grab the armor box, hold a knife in his hand, and chop a sea riding whale into pieces. Han Fei had a strange look on his face. This silly Shire, who usually looks so silly, squatted at the door with a bowl in his hand all day long. Who would have thought that he would be so ferocious when he fought, using the method of exchanging injury for injury? Every time he was injured, a sea demon would die. Moreover, after being injured, Shire took out a weapon from the armor box and continued to fight as if nothing had happened. As long as he had a weapon in his hand, he was invincible. What a silly guy. Han Fei quickly swam over. He had to help him. Since Jiu Ling left, Shire had been the most honest person in the Empyrean waterfall, although he didn't know why he wanted to fight 100 enemies by himself. But this kind of undying spirit really moved Han Fei. At this moment, those who attacked Shire were all high-level Sea Demon Realm powerhouses or even peak-level powerhouses. Even the heavenly talents were just watching from aside. The Sea Demons must have been scared by Shire. At this moment, a Sea Demon was horrified. Does this human want to die? Is this human so powerful? Someone's eyes were filled with shock. Lord Yu and the others are right. Human prodigies are extremely terrifying. Of WDO of Sea Demon. Fei is to two of the Sea Demons. Someone shouted. Although we'll die if we go up, we can't just stand there and do nothing. Flying Fork Formation, continue to attack. You sea demon was with of that sea demon that said he and said, of Tutu to king of sea. Under the dumbfounded gaze of Han Fei and the sea demons, for more hands grew out of his body, making him look like a demon. Han Fei's eyes widened. F***CK, are you Neza? Where are the other two heads? Yushire patted the armor box, and 6 long knives flew out, holding them in his hands. Yushire let the blood gush out of his body and said calmly, Scattered Stars Island, Empyrean Waterfall, Yushire, came here today to break the array. Anyone who stands in my way will die. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Is this guy crazy? How can he be so arrogant now? Damn it, you've almost bled dry, haven't you? In a flash, Yushire had already charged at this group of sea demons. Han Fei could even hear someone exclaiming, Lunatic, this human is a lunatic. Let's go together. Kill. Clang, clang, clang. The sky was full of harpoons and white light. In the harpoon array, whenever Yushire smashed a harpoon, a new long knife would fly out of the armor box. Bam, bam, bam. When Han Fei arrived, Yushire, this idiot, had already smashed more than 20 harpoons. Among them, there were 2 golden harpoons. A half-mermaid heavenly talent suddenly shouted, Sea god descends, barbarian god collides. At that moment, a big whale rushed out, seeming to want to smash Yushire to death. But this time, Yushire didn't fight back, but looked back and grinned, looking quite silly. Han Fei rolled his eyes. What are you looking at? Retreat now. Yushire retreated quickly. However, the 6 knives shot out at the same time, and the big whale that rushed over was smashed into pieces. Han Fei flew up and threw a divine healing technique at him, and the void lines controlled a peak-level sea demon realm powerhouse to circle to the back of this group of sea demons. Bam! Han Fei stood in front of Yushire. So many people against one. Is it cool? A half-mermaid heavenly talent laughed in anger. There are really many lunatics among human beings. Here comes another one. Han Fei didn't respond to him. He looked back and found that Yushire had already sat on the ground. He was holding a spiritual fruit in his hand and quickly stuffed it into his mouth. Yushire smiled at Han Fei. Can I? No, I can still fight. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Come on, your legs are shaking. Yushire grinned and scratched his head. I'm a little tired. Swish, swish, swish. As he spoke, the harpoons bombarded him. Han Fei snorted and golden fist shadows flashed. Crack, crack, crack. The harpoons were exploding one after another. Whoo! The phantom glass wings spread, and Han Fei's figure flew out in a straight line. In that straight line, there seemed to be a row of Han Feis, leaving a long afterimage. Someone exclaimed, It's Han Fei. Brothers, we are destined to become famous this time. Kill Han Fei and open the way to the king's city. Huh. Han Fei was dumbfounded. What does killing me have to do with going to the king's city? Didn't they say that no one had ever been to the king's city? What did this have to do with him? Han Fei found that these people looked at him as if they were looking at a delicious hot pot. All the sea demons activated their secret methods, and at least 5 of them activated Sea God Descends and rushed at him. Swish! Han Fei flashed into the crowd and killed a sea demon with a blood-drinking knife, cursing, Are you crazy? A bunch of idiots. Han Fei, who suddenly flashed into the crowd of sea demons, threw out the golden seal, and the 9 mansions dragon roared, turned into the shadow of a small mountain, and patted many sea demons on the head. Of course, this was just a camouflage. What Han Fei really relied on was the law of gravity. Boom! Almost at the same time, more than 40 sea demons were pressed to the ground by Han Fei. Swish, swish, swish. Puff, puff. At that moment, Han Fei appeared and disappeared in the crowd. Every time he raised his knife, someone would die. Yushire was stunned not far away, scratching his head from time to time and saying, He's very strong. I don't think I can beat him. Yushire wasn't the only one who was shocked. Those sea demons were also dumbfounded. Okay? Is this a **king person? Is this an army? At this moment, someone wanted to rush into the gravity field to help. However, as soon as he came in, he fell to the ground. Before he ran out, Han Fei had appeared and beheaded him with a knife. And the powerhouse in the peak level of the sea demon realm, controlled by the void lines, was also rushing over. Someone looked happy. It's Master Yufun. Master Yufun must have led the team here. However, the smile on the man's face was still there. The next moment, he was pierced through by Yufun, who was controlled by Han Fei. Someone roared, "Yufun, what are you doing?" However, Yufun ignored him and rushed forward. Han Fei didn't care how long Yufun could hold on. Among the sea demons, there were 3 sea god descends, and they resisted the law of gravity, but they hadn't adapted to it yet. Han Fei grabbed the golden seal and smashed it with a brick, making one of them dizzy. The infinity water turned into a sky full of wild knives, sweeping through the law of gravity like a dragon. The battle was instantly won by Han Fei alone. In less than 2 minutes, Han Fei found that the sea demon he controlled was stabbed to death. Because he was still under Han Fei's control, he didn't even use the immortal seal. As for the sea demons in the law of gravity, only 13 escaped, and the rest were all swept away. BM, 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 the Nine Mansions dragon roars smashed down one after another. 2 heavenly talents and a peak-level sea demon in the law of gravity were smashed to pieces by the sea god descends. Puff, 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 it seemed to be a piece of cake. The sea demons, who had a large number of people just now, all fled, and only about 30 people escaped. The rest were all killed. While taking out the sea demons' sea-swallowing seashells, Han Fei asked via voice transmission, "Is there a seal here?" Shire nodded. "Yes, I found it. It's about 20 li ahead. That red reef is the right one." Han Fei took a look and found that there was indeed a large red strange stone, which was protected by a spiritual barrier. No wonder there were so many sea demons here. They didn't want humans to come here and destroy the seal. In fact, Han Fei was also a little hesitant at the moment. If the seal was not broken, it would be good. In this ancient battlefield, there were still many people waiting for him to snatch treasures. However, he had already come here and seen it. How could he not break it? Shire slowly got up. "I owe you a life. I won't forget it." Han Fei looked at him strangely and said, "Is your spiritual beast a dragon?" Shire smiled innocently. "No, the immortal golden serpent is not a dragon." Han Fei's eyelids twitched. It sounded very cool. It dared to claim to be an immortal spiritual beast. No wonder it could be so reckless. Chapter 904. In front of the barrier of the sealed object, Han Fei cast a few more divine healing techniques on Shire and said solemnly, "As far as I know, you can't break a barrier just because you see it. Maybe we can't break it." Before he finished speaking, Han Fei saw Shire take out a semi-divine long stick and poke it at the barrier with a terrifying force. Boom! Both Han Fei and Shire were sent flying. In Han Fei's astonished gaze, the semi-divine weapon exploded, and the barrier was broken. Damn it, Han Fei was stunned. "That's it? Hey, I say, 12th, can you give me a heads up next time before you make a move? We were so close to the barrier. Just now." Shire smiled innocently. "Oh, I'm going to smash this sealed object now." This time, Shire took out a big seal. Han Fei didn't know what was in Shire's armor box. This guy exploded every time he took out his armor box. How much money would he lose in this fight? Sure enough, there was another boom. Shire exploded 2 semi-divine weapons in a row and blew up the sealing stone. After that, he looked back at Han Fei. "It's mainly because there are a lot of weapons here. I picked them all up." Han Fei twitched his mouth. "Can you waste them just because you picked them up? Isn't it a semi-divine weapon?" Han Fei wondered, if this guy picked up a semi-divine weapon, would he also explode it? Han Fei was speechless. The strange stone exploded, and within 1,000 kilometers, the seawater was buzzing and rumbling. Han Fei and Shire looked up for a long time, but the buzzing gradually subsided. Shire scratched his head. "Maybe it's not enough to break one sealed object. I have to break another one." Han Fei curled his lips. "Then you have to find it." Shire looked at Han Fei. "Shall we go together?" Han Fei shook his head. "No, I want to suddenly." Han Fei frowned and quickly pinched his fingers. After a while, Han Fei's face changed. Is Luo Xiaobai in danger? This was a hunch. Han Fei glanced at Yushire. Do you know where there are a lot of spiritual plants? Yushire pointed to the front left, where Han Fei was. I met Yui. She went in that direction and said that there was a spiritual plant forest there. Han Fei immediately spread his wings. 12. I still have something to do. Goodbye. Han Fei paused and pointed to the right. About 3,000 kilometers in that direction, there's a snake cave mountain. I've already killed a huge snake inside. You can go and see if there are any sealed artifacts there. Yushire grinned. Okay, thank you. Whoosh. Han Fei didn't stop and jumped out. In the forest, Luo Xiaobai should be invincible. Why was she in danger? Could it be a powerful creature like the giant serpent? No, I have to hurry. A little girl with gaudy clothes and hair that was sky blue, crimson, and pure black was skipping forward in the water. Anyone from the Empyrean waterfall would know who this girl was. Except for Li Luo, no one was dressed in such a fancy and weird way. Suddenly, a shadow appeared on the ground, and a big fish with two big pincers rushed at Li Luo with its teeth bared. Li Luo snorted. If a fish has big pincers, doesn't it become a crabfish? No, a lobster fish, it's really ugly. Li Luo was still careless. Just when the big fish rushed within 10 meters of her, she disappeared with a swish. Then, in less than a second, the big fish was bound by colorful vines and grasses. Walk, 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 big fish. Huh, there's a battle. A strange blade of grass on Lilua's shoulder vibrated slightly, and she showed a sweet smile. Let's go grab something. In this water area, red light was everywhere, and the sky punishing sword shadows were raging. A big lobster with no shell and a body full of fat was sweeping around. Its two pincers were two big snakes, and its tail was a scorpion tail. At this moment, this weird, big soul-eating lobster had been riddled with holes and finally fell to the ground. Sun Mu's face was pale, and he landed on the ground. With a thought, the deity, slaying sword formation, returned to its position, looking like a sword immortal who was sheathing his sword, extremely handsome. Beside him, there were 8 people. Among them, someone was flattering him. Young master, your deity, slaying sword formation, is getting stronger and stronger. I believe that after a period of time, you will be able to kill this kind of soul-eating beast without using secret methods. Sun Mu snorted indifferently. Enough. Soul-eating beasts are much weaker than sea spirits. And Han Fei, when he was outside, could already kill a sea spirit. That person flattered him. How can Han Fei be compared with you, young master? He is just a country boy. Does he think he's great just because he has some opportunities? How can he know your background, young master? Sun Mu held his head high. Let's go. If there is a spiritual plant forest, then it must be... Who? A sword light swept across the void, and a red demonic vine was cut in half. You're really bad-tempered. I'm just listening. However, what your subordinate said is wrong. Han Fei is from the Thug Academy. He is very powerful. At this moment, Li Luo was sitting on a purple vine 100 meters away, her hands on the vine pole, and her feet were swaying. Sun Mu's pupils suddenly constricted. Empyrean waterfall, Li Luo said in surprise. Ah, you know me? Sun Mu snorted. Although I haven't been there in person, I know everyone in the Empyrean waterfall. Are you trying to stop me? Li Luo quickly patted her chest with her little hand. You scared me. Are you Han Fei's enemy? Sun Mu looked calm. So what? Li Luo giggled. Great. I have something to ask Han Fei of. I want him to cook a meal for me. Then I will become a law enforcer. So, how about I kill you first as a favor? How dare you spout sh*t? Who do you think you are? How dare you kill my young master? Let me kill him. In an instant, flowers bloomed all over the ground, vines were all over the ground, and colorful soul-eating spirit beasts appeared. White knife marks flashed in the air. Almost in an instant, the person who spoke didn't even have time to react before he was wrapped in a burst of colorful light. Sun Mu and the others flew back. At the same time, sword shadows swept across, trying to cut off the colorful brilliance. Sword, aura, shield, dragons, and snakes retreat. In the dense, colorful light, there was a low roar, and the soaring sword chi broke through the light. However, not even a breath of time had passed since these harsh words were uttered when a blood-curdling scream rang out from within the enchanting colors. Liluoluo curled her lips unhappily. Humph! I asked you to lend me something, but you scolded me. Eat him. When the colors dissipated, everyone felt their scalps go numb. The guy who had scolded Liluoluo just now was standing there like an artistic statue, trying to jump. His body was covered with colorful blades of grass, and there was an ugly monster crayfish on his head. However, that person was already dead. A peak-level hidden fisher was dressed like this in a second and turned into a humanoid artistic statue. Who wouldn't be horrified? Sun Mu's eyes were cold. Liluoluo, are you sure you want to go against a sun family? Liluoluo said shyly. It's only interesting this way. The sea demons can't see us, and you just happened to come to us. Sun Mu shouted in a low voice, sky sword array. Swish, 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 7 swords flew across the sky, and the 7 people behind Sun Mu each took a different posture. Including Sun Mu, everyone was like a sword, full of heroic spirit. A big sword tens of meters long fell straight to Liluoluo. Wow, you're so mean. You even bully a girl. That's too much. Everyone was speechless. Are you a girl? Why don't you take a look at your appearance? You're a monster. At that moment, the sky was full of shadows of big swords. Its power was so terrifying that an ordinary hidden fisher could be killed with a single slash. With Sun Mu as the leader, the swords followed his heart. Puff, puff, puff. On the ground, dense, colorful, demonic vines burst out. Some of the vines were not vines at all, but centipedes and spider silk. Some blades of grass were not blades of grass either, but all kinds of strange leaf insects. Vines, insects, silk, and knives were all available. Liluoluo's figure ran and flashed among the shadows of the swords. Her eyes flashed with a red light, and immediately one of them lost his composure. The man exclaimed, "Oh no, there are insects in my eyes." "Ah, insects, insects." Sun Mu's eyes turned white and he shouted angrily, "Everyone, guard your mind. Don't be confused by this demon's illusion." "Ha ha ha, it's delicious. Do you want to eat it?" The insects crawled into your mouths. Don't pull a long face. Look at your clothes. No, look at my clothes. Do I look good? Someone looked at Liluoluo and was dumbfounded. Is that a human? It's a big insect piled up by countless insects. This person subconsciously took half a step back. However, it was his half step that directly pushed him into the abyss. This time, a bug really fell on him at the moment when his breath was unstable. Immediately afterward, the bug began to split and bite. Then, this person went crazy. Sun Mu was furious. He hadn't done anything yet, but 3 of his 8 peak-level hidden fishers had already been killed. Demon, I have a sword that can kill demons and evil. High-quality, ultra-quality divine weapon. Rich man, I can't afford to offend you. Bye-bye. Sun Mu roared. Do you think you can leave? Hundreds of kilometers away, a big golden bird flew across the sky. Han Fei looked at the infinity water that was still absorbing water vapor and curled his lips. The cooldown time is a bit long. Suddenly, Han Fei raised his head. Why are there so many fancy colors in front? And there seems to be a sword chime. Second update, asking for votes into this chapter. Chapter 905. Someone's been killed, help. While running, Liluoluo threw insects behind her. They were colorful, just like vines. Those who didn't know her would definitely think that she was a manipulator. You're courting death. In front of Sun Mu, a blood-red long sword shot out and chased after Liluoluo spontaneously. Puff! It seemed that Liluoluo's body had been cut. In fact, Liluoluo came out from the other side. The thing that was chopped was a blade of grass and a green vine. It was a real green vine, just a stick insect hanging on it. Liluoluo jumped into the distance, put one hand on her waist, and pointed at Sun Mu with the other. Why are you chasing after a little girl like me? What are you thinking? If you do that again, I'll eat you. Sun Mu snorted. You're bragging. The ultra-quality divine weapon flashed again, and Li Luo disappeared again. Anyway, she had plenty of insects, and she couldn't kill them alone. However, seeing her insects being killed, Li Luo still felt a little distressed. After escaping 5 or 6 times, Li Luo suddenly stood still and said coldly, "Be ****starred. I've given you face, haven't I?" As she spoke, phantoms of soul eaters appeared one after another and swarmed at Sun Mu. "Young master, be careful. This witch is cunning." Even 100 beasts, pouncing on their prey, couldn't compare to this scene. Sun Mu shouted, "Red light everywhere." Swish, swish, swish. Long swords flew out one after another. At a glance, Sun Mu's swords had all turned into semi-divine weapons at some point in time. For a moment, there seemed to be thousands of rays of red light. Those phantoms of soul eaters were all cut to pieces. Every time a soul eater died, a bug fell, and Li Luo's face became colder and colder. Swish! Li Luo's speed increased 7 or 8 times, and 2 daggers appeared in her hands. When the saber struck out, there were actually dozens of afterimages as it slashed out dozens of times. Sun Mu sneered, "You want to kill me in my immortals slaying formation?" Without saying a word, Li Luo's figure flashed, and she rushed to Sun Mu's men. Sun Mu was furious. "How dare you?" The man who was targeted by Li Luo immediately changed his expression and formed a circle in front of him to protect himself. However, a scarlet eye suddenly appeared in midair, and that person immediately felt as if there were bugs in his eyes. Not only in the eyes, but also in the body, mouth, ears. "No, it's an illusion." Too late. Rip. Li Luo killed him with one blow and retreated quickly. With a bang, it disappeared, causing Sun Mu's sword to miss its target. 10,000 swords as one. Sun Mutant controlled his sword and tried to kill him. At this moment, a voice transmission rippled in the sea. "Yo, isn't that Sun Mu? What a coincidence, what a coincidence. Who are you fighting?" In the air, a colorful mist flashed, and Li Luo's eyes were cold. "Han Fei, come here and help me kill him." Li Luo? Han Fei was stunned for a moment. He sped up and rushed over from more than 100 kilometers away. Sun Mu sneered, "Just as well. I'll settle old and new grudges together. Today, I'll send you 2 on your way." The crimson sword spun in front of Sun Mu's palm. He was really waiting for Han Fei to come, as if he really wanted to fight to the death here. After a moment, Han Fei approached, floated in the air, glanced at Li Luo, and asked, "Why are you fighting?" Li Luo glanced at Han Fei coldly, which made Han Fei's blood freeze. "I'm here to help. Why are you glaring at me?" Li Luo gritted her teeth. "He dared to kill my insect. I'll kill him." Han Fei bared his teeth. "Your insect is really precious." However, Han Fei liked it and immediately said with a smile, "No problem, no problem. I also want his life. Let's split in half." Sun Mu looked back, his face cold, and the 108 sword were hanging in the air. Han Fei grinned. "What? Are you going to use red light? Or 10,000 swords in one? Or is he going to use a new move?" Li Luo said, "He has an ultra-quality divine weapon." "Huh?" Han Fei raised his eyebrows. He could see that the long sword was extraordinary. However, he had thought it was a low-quality divine weapon, so it was comparable to the cosmic sword. Sun Mu's voice was indifferent. "I don't need the C token now, but I don't mind. Sky ceiling sword tide." As the array was activated, waves surged within a radius of a kilometer. Sun Mu's momentum soared, giving Han Fei a sense of crisis. Mother of Astra's Cur, this guy is more than just a little stronger. Han Fei took out a mint leaf and stuffed it into his mouth. With a thought in his mind, the void lines rippled in the seawater. If he attacked at this moment, the void lines wouldn't be able to catch him. However, he might not be able to catch him in a battle. As long as he could get close, he would have a chance. Han Fei grinned. "Okay, I'm not afraid of you." Swish! He put on the feather cloak of wind, activated the Overlord's technique, and punched out with a golden fist mark. At the moment Han Fei attacked, Li Luo also attacked. On the ground and in the water, colorful lights flashed, dazzling. Puff! Sun Mu cut off the golden fist mark with his sword and sneered. How dare you attack me with such a sinister technique? Han Fei frowned slightly. The art of invincibility was not so easy to deal with. In the same realm, it was no joke to kill a kid with one punch. Besides, with the Overlord's technique, it was impossible for Sun Mu to cut off the art of invincibility so easily. He should be able to use that ultra-quality divine weapon. However, didn't it consume spiritual energy to use an ultra-quality divine weapon? With Sun Mu's level and ability, how could he use such a sword move when he was already using a killer move? Han Fei made up his mind. There was only one guess. Sun Mu didn't consume his spiritual energy to use this sword at all. Instead, like him, he used some kind of method to store spiritual energy. If this was the case, it seemed that he had to take out Snowmorn. Han Fei wanted to blow it up with the Infinity Water, but the cooldown time of the Infinity Water was a bit long and its power hadn't recovered yet. It could be used in a battle, but it couldn't be used to blow this thing up. Seeing that the rolling waves within a kilometer all turned into swords, Han Fei shouted, "Li Luoluo, you take those subordinates, and I'll take Sun Mu." Li Luoluo didn't say anything and rushed towards the subordinates of the peak-level hidden fissures. Han Fei stretched out one hand, and Snowmorn appeared in his hand. I also have a sword. It's bigger than yours. I wonder if it's stronger than yours? Although Han Fei had learned the cosmic sword technique, he was definitely much weaker than Sun Mu, who had practiced the Deity slaying sword formation for countless years. Therefore, he used his sword like a knife and drew it without hesitation. Sword drawing technique. The seawater collapsed, and the spiritual energy in Han Fei's body was instantly sucked dry, but the stored spiritual energy also surged out. As soon as the sword was drawn, there was no light or color in the surroundings, and half of the sky, ceiling sword-tied, was shaking. Han Fei directly fell to the bottom of the sea. Although he had consumed a lot of spiritual energy and was so hungry that he was dizzy and weak, Han Fei stared at Sun Mu. Try this sword strike of mine. Sun Mu was a little stunned when Han Fei slashed out this sword strike. The sky-ceiling sword-tied was a continuous and lethal attack. Was he trying to kill Han Fei and Li Luoluo with this sword strike? However, when Han Fei slashed out this sword strike, he didn't know how to resist it. 10,000 swords in one. At this time, Sun Mu's only way was to recall the 108 swords and use 10,000 swords in one. However, when Han Fei's sword strike was really in front of him, Sun Mu felt cold sweat all over his body. There was only one thought in his mind: don't block this sword strike. Immediately, 3 protective jades floated in front of him. Sun Mu used 10,000 swords in one and retreated quickly. The faces of 2 peak-level hidden fissures changed drastically. Not good. Protect the young master. Sword or a shield. Sword shield. Swish. The 10,000 swords in one was directly torn apart by the sword-drawing technique. As soon as it swept past, the sword-drawing technique shattered the protective jades and semi-divine long swords of the 2 peak-level hidden fissures. Puff! With a very faint sound, the 2 of them were directly swept past by the long sword. At this moment, the void lines directly locked the 2 of them, preventing them from using the immortal seal. On Sun Mu's body, the 3 protective jades burst out with strange light, and 3 light shields protected him. Han Fei wasn't sure if he could cut them off. Crack! 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 The 3 protective jades shattered. Sun Mu was horrified. Seeing that he was about to be cut, a long sword suddenly exploded. The explosion of the semi-divine weapon directly sent him flying. He used this to protect himself from being cut to death. Seeing this, Han Fei immediately looked disappointed. He failed. Sure enough, a heavenly talent was indeed a heavenly talent. The heritage of the descendants of the big clans was indeed different. The 2 of them risked their lives for him. Young master, let's go. There were still 2 peak-level hidden fissures of the Sun family left. They protected Sun Mu and fled. As for why there were 2, because just now Li Luoluo killed one of them. Seeing that he failed to kill the enemy, Han Fei immediately shouted, Li Luoluo, come here. Swish, swish. Li Luoluo's figure flashed and landed in front of Han Fei. At this moment, the billowing sword tide had already come. Although Sun Mu had just stopped, only half of the sword tide had collapsed, and the other half had been condensed. Han Fei took out 3 fish-skin pictures in a row. Swish! On the seabed, the big turtle was lying, and the violent sword tide poured down like rain. Crack! The first coiled turtle array lasted for 2 minutes before it was broken. Immediately afterward, the second coiled turtle array rose again. This time, it lasted for 2 minutes before it was broken. The third one continued, and this time, it lasted for 2 minutes before it was broken. At this point, Han Fei no longer had the coiled turtle array in his hands. With a thought in his mind, the infinity water wrapped him and Li Luoluo. Clank, clank, clank. When the sword tide disappeared, Han Fei and Li Luoluo were quite embarrassed, and both of them were vomiting blood. Han Fei exclaimed, the people of the Sun family are really good at using swords. Even the 3 coiled turtle arrays couldn't withstand it. Chapter 906. Li Luoluo suddenly patted her chest and said, you scared me to death. Han Fei, your enemy is too strong. This guy even has an ultra-quality divine weapon. Alas, what sword did you just take? Let me have a look. Han Fei had already put Snowmorn away. He asked in confusion, did I use my sword just now? You are mistaken. The saber I use is a high-grade divine saber. Are you kidding me? Han Fei wouldn't take out Snowmorn anyway. Sun Mu wouldn't guess that it was a sea-quelling bizarre treasure. At most, it would be an ultra-quality divine weapon of the same level. Li Luoluo pursed her lips. You're so stingy. Forget it. I don't want to see it anymore. But you owe me a breakthrough meal, let me tell you. Huh? What? What breakthrough meal? Li Luoluo skipped forward and said, just now, that man said he would kill you. Then I thought about it. Didn't I negotiate with you last time? If you cook a meal for me, I'll help you kill 100 people. Fair, right? Then I made my move. But that man was so fierce that I couldn't beat him. Han Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When did we reach an agreement? Little Joe's breakthrough was purely because of her cultivation method. In fact, it's not much different from a meal. Not everyone can make a breakthrough after eating a meal. Otherwise, I'll cook for you every day. Even God has to come to me to cook. Li Luoluo curled her lips and said, oh, I don't care. Anyway, you have to cook for me. You have to help me make a breakthrough. Yes, you have experience in becoming a law enforcer. Old Du was defeated by you. Han Fei rolled his eyes. What do you mean I have experience in becoming a law enforcer? Old Du, that was caused by an earthquake. Okay? I don't King no. Li Luoluo said, okay. What I mean is, you should be a person with luck. If I stay with you, maybe I'll make a breakthrough. By the way, do you like bugs? Han Fei was stunned. Why would I like bugs? I don't like them. Li Luoluo suddenly raised her voice. You don't like bugs? Han Fei chuckled. Sensing the insect corpses, he smiled. So, you're not a manipulator, but an insect manipulator? Li Luoluo looked at Han Fei like an idiot. Insect manipulator? I am the manipulator. It was just that the myriad cordyceps he was controlling. Forget it. I'm not going to explain it to you. It doesn't make sense. Han Fei thought to himself, I don't want to talk to you. Suddenly, Han Fei slapped his thigh. Let's go to the spiritual plant forest. Bye-bye, Sai. Wait, I'm going too. On Xiao Jin's back, Li Luoluo curiously looked at Xiao Jin's head. From time to time, Xiao Jin rolled his eyes to look at this strange girl. Han Fei patted Little Gold gloomily and said, Hey, you're flying askew. Xiao Jin hurriedly looked forward and adjusted the direction of his vision. Li Luoluo asked curiously, what kind of contractual spiritual beast is this? How strange. Was it a bird? But there are no such birds on the Scattered Stars Island. Han Fei said, I got it by accident. Anyway, it can fly. Li Luoluo didn't ask. They were birds, after all. They were quite common. Although this one was very strange, it was just a bird. Li Luoluo couldn't help but ask curiously, Why are you going to the spiritual plant forest? How do you know there are creatures on this battlefield? I only found out about it through Buggy. How do you know? Han Fei was a little helpless. Why do these people always ask so many questions? Han Fei shrugged. Do you know Luo Xiaobai? She came to see me. She's from the Thug Academy. Li Luo nodded. Yes, she's quite beautiful. She's my type. Han Fei was stunned. Come on. Luo Xiaobai likes men. Li Luo said angrily. I like men too. I said she's pretty and aloof. She's my type. Han Fei breathed a sigh of relief. Whatever. She can summon spiritual plants from this battlefield and summon the vines there. Of course, she knows there are plants here. If there are plants, there must be a spiritual plant forest. Huh. Li Luo said in surprise. That's the same as me looking for bugs. In a barren land, in a bloody land, in a place full of monsters, an undersea forest appeared. In that case, this forest was definitely not a good one. At this moment, not only the Luo Xiaobai trio, but more than 300 people were trapped in this forest. And this was under the circumstance that many people and sea demons had died. Of course, Luo Xiaobai and the others didn't know this situation in the forest because they were also trapped here. Zhang Xuanyu smacked his lips and said, Xiaobai, do you think this forest is alive? We have already encountered the third wave of sea demons, but we haven't met a single person. Luren Kuang nodded. Yes, the corpses of the sea demons were all eaten by this forest. Shouldn't we not come in? Aren't there too many bugs here? I wonder if Fei Fei is lost. Luo Xiaobai said calmly, it's okay. Although perception can't be used here, he doesn't rely entirely on perception. Besides, although the plants here are strange, they often contain wisteria and white vanilla leaves, so it's not a big problem. At least, we can be sure that there is a sealed artifact here. Hiss! Suddenly, the vines and grasses moved, the trees turned, and a passage opened up. Luo Xiaobai said, get ready to fight. One day later, Han Fei and Li Luo stood outside a vast spiritual plant forest. From the outside, this forest was full of flowers and vines and grasses. However, most of them were the gray vines that Luo Xiaobai had summoned. The trees here were unusually tall and dark green, and on the trunks, there were not many leaves, mostly vines and twisted branches. Through these vines, Han Fei and Li Luo saw that there were actually breathing vibrations in the forest here, which was a bit tempting. It seemed that something was tempting them. Han Fei took out a few mint leaves, stuffed one into his mouth, and handed it to Li Luo. Li Luo asked, what? Han Fei said, it clears the mind and makes it harder for you to fall into illusions and bewitchment. Li Luo immediately grabbed a piece and stuffed it in her mouth. Then give me more. Han Fei grabbed a few clumps for her and said leisurely, do you think this forest is deliberately luring us in? Li Luo snorted. Of course. Such a low-level temptation. Han Fei smacked his lips and said, but we still have to go in. I feel that there's something inside. Li Luo said in surprise. You also feel that there's something inside? I thought that I was wrong. The sealed artifact should be inside, right? Han Fei nodded. It should be. That was what he had just calculated. He could calculate it, but he couldn't calculate where it was. Han Fei grinned and said, let's go. With his current strength, it was no longer a matter of hiding when he saw danger. Even though he knew it was dangerous, he still had to go. Just like this weird undersea forest, he knew there was something wrong with it. But the sealed artifact was right there. Would you go or not? After cultivation, it was like this. Life was here. Let's see who could survive to the end. Li Luo jumped into the forest. As long as there is a forest, there will be insects. As long as there are insects, why should I be afraid of this forest? Han Fei glanced at the infinity water, which no longer absorbed water essence. It seemed to have completely recovered to its best state. Han Fei grinned. Let's go. Let's sweep through this forest. The two of them entered side by side. When they first entered the forest, it was mainly made of vines. But as they walked back, Han Fei found that this forest was actually not as monotonous as he had imagined. Here, there were also all kinds of strange, glowing aquatic plants, as well as big green and red flowers with teeth. There were also deformed hermit crabs, hermit snakes, hermit centipedes, and so on. All kinds of small creatures were living in this place. They didn't want to hide at all. They seemed to be saying, "This is how the creatures here are. If you want to come in, just come in. If you don't want to, I won't stop you." Besides, Han Fei found that perception here was ineffective. Li Luoluo also knew that. However, all this was different in Li Luo's eyes. This girl had already sprinkled a colorful mist of light around her. After a while, a large number of deformed hermit insects ran to Li Luo's side. Han Fei's blood froze. A woman who plays with insects is not to be trifled with. This girl can probably compete with Yi Qing Feng, the old poison. No wonder she killed 3 or 4 of Sun Mu's subordinates, even though he had an ultra-quality divine weapon. Li Luoluo hummed a tune and said, "There are no large creatures here. It means that these spiritual plants are more dangerous." Han Fei nodded. "Now, these spiritual plants haven't attacked us yet. Let's go deeper and see." Half an hour later, as Han Fei and the others moved forward, Han Fei saw that the trees here were moving and the vines were pulling away, making way for them. At this moment, a long road appeared, which made Han Fei and Li Luoluo frown. Han Fei frowned. "Danger! Here comes the danger." 4th update. Monthly votes. I'm so sad. Come and liven up the atmosphere into this chapter. Chapter 907. Han Fei's guess was right. This spiritual plant forest was definitely alive. Even if it wasn't alive, there was at least a big guy like the leafless tree that could control the entire forest. What worried Han Fei was that if there was really something like the leafless tree, it would be dangerous. Unlike the demon plant channel, there was a suppression of strength, and the leafless tree could only exert the strength of a hanging fisher. However, it was different here. There was no suppression of strength, which meant that the other party could be very, very strong. In that case, if necessary, Han Fei felt that he could try to destroy the earth veins and forcibly extract the strength of the expert. However, he did not have any demon-shattering vine seeds. If he wanted to destroy the earth vein, he would have to drill down and do it himself. While walking forward with Li Luoluo, Han Fei asked telepathically, "Do you have a way to destroy the veins of this forest?" Li Luoluo tilted her head playfully. "Destroy the earth veins?" Han Fei nodded. "It may be of great use when necessary." Li Luoluo grinned. "Yes, I can use insects to bite. However, I'm not sure what the earth vein here is exactly." Han Fei said, "If there are some places that are different from others and appear to be more dangerous, in that case, we'll gnaw on everything underground." Li Luoluo giggled. "No problem. Buzz." The water rippled slightly, and Han Fei said, "Let's go. Let's see what's ahead." After walking for less than 10 kilometers, 4 sea demons suddenly appeared in front of Han Fei and Li Luoluo. Among these 4 people, only one was a heavenly talent, and the other 3 were in the intermediate sea demon realm and the advanced sea demon realm. "TSK, is this the danger?" Li Luoluo said unhappily. "Isn't the danger too weak?" Han Fei, on the other hand, looked at the 4 people strangely and said leisurely, "The forest opened the road for us. Of course, there are people who want us to meet the sea monsters. Interesting. If that's the case, we can satisfy that person's wish to get rid of these sea demons first." Li Luoluo immediately said, "Half each." Han Fei grinned. "Let's see what we can do." Li Luoluo was annoyed. "Oh, half each. I'm a girl, and I even helped you kill 4 members of the Sun family." Han Fei was lost for words. "Fine, half each." When the 4 sea demons saw Han Fei and Li Luoluo, they immediately went berserk. The half-mermaid heavenly talent's eyes glowed when he saw Han Fei. "It's Han Fei. Leave it to me. That woman, the 3 of you come." Buzz. A white light suddenly appeared, followed by a golden silhouette. The half-mermaid heavenly talent used the secret technique of Sea God Descends. On the other side, a waterman, a big fish, and a mantis shrimp appeared. Voila! The phantom glass wings spread, and with a swish, Han Fei flew out. Suddenly, dozens of golden fist prints exploded with a loud bang. On the other side, Li Luoluo giggled, and colorful worm stalks burst out. The half-mermaid heavenly talent roared, Han Fei, you are destined to go to the capital with me. Pooh! Dong, dong, dong. The terrifying force bent the harpoon in the half-mermaid heavenly talent's hand. The remaining countless punches almost blew up his secret technique of Sea God descends in an instant. Han Fei's figure flashed, and he repeatedly bombarded the half-mermaid heavenly talent on the ground, muttering, Bullsh asterisk T. Royal City. The void lines directly caught this person. In the next second, he slapped the half-mermaid heavenly talent. In just 1 second, Han Fei smacked the half-mermaid heavenly talent. Han Fei habitually grabbed and used it on the spot. The last peak-level Sea Demon Realm cultivator he caught had already been blown up, and now another heavenly talent was sent to him as a puppet, which was not bad. Reading the information, Han Fei saw a picture of the 10,000 Demon Valley. As for the picture of the ancient battlefield, he didn't see anything. It seemed that the void lines were not omnipotent, and he couldn't see everything. As for the picture of the 10,000 Demon Valley, Han Fei had seen it before. At this moment, Han Fei only read the messy picture of the battle in the Sea Demon Colosseum. Han Fei was awakened by the screams and quickly looked back, only to find that a half-mermaid had turned into a colorful statue. The other two were scratching themselves crazily and then were killed by Li Luoluo. Li Luoluo looked curiously at the half-mermaid who stood up again under Han Fei's feet and asked in surprise, What happened to him? Han Fei grinned. I controlled him with a soul technique. Soul technique? Li Luoluo's eyes widened, and she subconsciously stuck out her tongue. Han Fei was really scary. He actually had such a terrifying soul technique. Fortunately, they were all neighbors. Otherwise, it would be really dangerous. Only Han Fei didn't know what Li Luoluo was thinking. In Han Fei's opinion, Li Luoluo was the scarier one. This woman was really a pervert. She turned people into works of art. It was really scary. After a while, the two of them grabbed 4 swallowing seashells. Li Luoluo said, One for you, one for me, one for you, one for me. Han Fei said grumpily, You're quite greedy? Don't you find it troublesome to count so many? That's enough. I only want this one, and the other 3 are yours. Li Luoluo snorted. Then I'm the one who loses. All the good things are in your one. Han Fei nodded. Okay, I'll give you half of the semi-divine weapons in this one. Do you want the other things? Li Luoluo giggled. No, I can't use these ultra-quality spiritual weapons. While they were talking, they suddenly looked back, only to find that the half-mermaids that Li Luoluo killed were suddenly entangled by countless vines, and then large tracts of grass and trees drilled into their mouths. Huh? Li Luoluo and Han Fei both shivered. Were they eaten by the forest? Suddenly, Han Fei noticed that there were vines entangling this half-mermaid heavenly talent controlled by Han Fei. Humph! The infinity water swept over, and a large number of vines collapsed. Han Fei said coldly, I'm giving it to you. You can take it. You can't take it if I don't give it to you. Sure enough, those vines began to shrink, and everything became calm again. Li Luoluo said in surprise, It's amazing. This forest is really alive. Han Fei looked at the people swallowed by the vines again, only to find that their flesh and blood were withering. He tried to separate a void line and hang it over to take a look. As a result, Han Fei was surprised to find that the souls of these people were gone. Li Luoluo asked, What's wrong? Han Fei's face sank. I can't feel their souls. Li Luoluo said carelessly, They're dead. Their souls have collapsed. Han Fei shook his head. How can it be so fast? Well, let's keep going. Half a day later, Han Fei and Li Luoluo had encountered a total of 5 waves of sea demons, and there were more and more of them. However, fortunately, the 2 of them were strong enough. For Han Fei, without a sea spirit, even if these 5 waves of sea demons all came together, it would just be a little more troublesome. At this moment, those weird trees and vines were all making way. Han Fei and Li Luoluo also habitually walked out of the forest. Suddenly, Lilualua's expression changed. Something is wrong this time. There are a lot of vines and insects surrounding us. Han Fei's face turned cold. Insect can't stop you. Can't you control insects? Li Luo exclaimed. But there are too many of them. I suspect that this forest is going to eat us. Han Fei was speechless. Then control them. They're all insects. Control them and eat this forest. Li Luo rolled her eyes. How can it be so easy? It's easy for me to control hundreds or thousands of them. I may be able to control tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of them. But how can I control millions of them? As soon as Li Luo's voice fell, a huge number of parasitic insects and gray vines surrounded them from all directions. However, these insects were divided into two batches, and they were fighting and biting each other at the moment. This must be Li Luo's means. Han Fei sneered. You can't kill us with sea demons, so you want to kill us with insects and vines? Sure enough, you're still a bad person. The infinity water spread out, and 100 meters around Han Fei turned into a sea of knives. The blades cut horizontally, but none of the vines could surround them. Li Luo's face became serious. Han Fei, I'm afraid I can't withstand this. As soon as Li Luo's voice fell, a strange, colorful plant that looked like vines, insects, and grass appeared in front of her, and a large amount of colorful mist scattered. Almost in an instant. Puff! Li Luo vomited a mouthful of blood. Humph! If I become a law enforcer, I can flatten your lousy forest alone. Even tens of thousands of colorful insects couldn't resist the insect-tide army. After a mere 20 breaths of time, these colorful insects were all eaten up. Han Fei stepped on the ground, and a spirit-gathering array appeared, and spiritual energy poured from his fingertips into Li Luo's body. Li Luo was shocked and was ready to continue controlling the insects. Han Fei said, "Take a rest. Let me try." Li Luo was not completely helpless, but the remaining insects were all used to escape. As Han Fei concentrated, the knives transformed from the infinity water became smaller and smaller. At first, they were still long knives, then they became the size of kitchen knives, and finally the size of flying knives. Puff, puff, puff. The infinity water was like a meat grinder, stirring crazily, and anything that approached within 100 meters was directly crushed. Even so, there were still many fish that escaped the net. However, the insects controlled by Li Luo were still here. These lucky fishes that managed to sneak and became Li Luo's insects very casually. After more than 10 minutes, Li Luo controlled as many as 40,000 to 50,000 insects that got in by chance. Han Fei felt dizzy. You do it. Han Fei stopped, and Li Luo took over, and the latter said, "We can't go on like this. In the ocean, the insects are almost endless. This forest is so vast, and there are so many insects. We can't keep killing them like this." Han Fei drank several mouthfuls of spirit awakening fluid, stuffed peppermint leaves in his mouth, and then killed the half-mermaid heavenly talent puppet that had been following him. He needed to absorb some soul power. After 10 minutes, the insects controlled by Li Luo were all dead or wounded, and the insect corpses piled up like a mountain. Li Luo's face was pale. "Can you still come?" Han Fei bared his teeth. "Yes." Chapter 908. At this moment, there were only a few methods that could be useful, and the most effective was the law of gravity. Although Han Fei didn't want to expose this power in front of Li Luo, he had no choice. He couldn't expect Li Luo, a peak-level hidden fisher, to fight the entire weird forest, could he? With a thought, the infinity water was taken back. Seeing this scene, Li Luo couldn't help but be surprised. "Are you sure you have a way?" It's coming, it's coming." The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. He turned his palm over and slapped down. The terrifying gravity crushed all the hermit insects within 100 meters. He didn't need to use the Overlord's technique. Now, Han Fei's strength had gradually grown to about 7 million kilograms. Even if it wasn't there, it wasn't far from it. It was very likely that he had reached the peak level that ordinary hidden fishers could reach. With this kind of power, how could these little parasites survive? Just how terrifying was this forest? Wow, laws? Liluoluo was stunned and asked in surprise, Han Fei, have you mastered the power of laws? Han Fei shook his head and refused to admit it. You're wrong. This isn't a law, it's a combat skill. Liluoluo immediately snorted. You still want to lie to me? Tell me, what kind of battle skill has such power? This was clearly the power of the law of gravity. Heavens! No wonder little Nine and old Do could become law enforcers. You haven't even become a law enforcer yet, but you've already mastered the laws. Liluoluo's eyes were almost glowing, which made Han Fei's blood freeze. Han Fei spoke to the uninhabited forest. Okay. Originally, we were living in harmony, but you just had to come and kill us. That's fine. I'll play with you to the fullest today. Han Fei looked at the infatuated Liluoluo and said, let's go. Liluoluo said happily, Okay. We have to fight our way through this forest. However, at this moment, the path in the forest disappeared. The trees and vines blocked the way. Han Fei sneered. Is it useful to gamble on the road? Han Fei stepped over the insect corpses and went straight out of the forest. This time, everywhere Han Fei passed, except for the tall trees, all the remaining spiritual plants were pressed to the ground. Spiritual plants could unleash boundless power with the help of the earth. However, it was not something that could be resisted in a short period of time. Under Han Fei's pressure, except for trees, many grasses and vines were directly crushed. Han Fei saw some strange flowers and plants trying to extend their sharp, hook-like horns to him. However, under the chaotic gravity, not even a single stalk could complete this heavy responsibility. Han Fei glanced at Forge the Universe. At this moment, Little Black and Little White were still swimming in the water. They probably hadn't completed their evolution. He could only look at Liluoluo. Can you find that bastard's location? Liluoluo said, I only know that most of the insects come from here. Liluoluo pointed to the left, and Han Fei said, let's go. No matter what, let's kill our way over first. The two of them ran like mad. Along the way, whenever there was any obstruction, the law of gravity would instantly vanish into nothingness. Somewhere in the forest, countless flowers and plants were blooming. On the outskirts of the flowers and grass, there was a huge pile of insect corpses. Within this domain of flowers, an extremely gentle-looking woman suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Huh? They retreated? In another place, a big black hole burst out, and countless insects were directly swallowed by the black hole. Luren Kwong roared, swallow, swallow, swallow. I'll swallow as many as you come. Luo Xiaobai's eyes turned white. All kinds of poisonous vines were around her, and within a radius of more than 500 meters, insect corpses were everywhere. Zhang Xuanyu kept unleashing the 9-layered waves in furious sea. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. This damn demon forest, don't let me catch the mastermind, or I'll stab him to death. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai's eyes returned to normal. She pointed in a direction and said, the insects are retreating in that direction. Luren Kwong stopped the sky-swallowing technique and hugged Luo Xiaobai's vines, panting. I hate bugs. This time, I've eaten so many worms. It's so sad. Zhang Xuanyu patted him on the shoulder and comforted him. It's okay. I heard that insects are actually quite nutritious, so we won't lose anything. Luren Kwong wailed. They look like that. Why don't you eat them? Zhang Xuanyu said leisurely. I can't eat as much as you. Luren Kwong, Luo Xiaobai said, catch up. If I'm not mistaken, he just wants us and the sea demons to fight each other. After the sea demons are killed, he arranges for the insects to come. In essence, he just wants us to die. Find it. I believe we are not the only team looking for it. Indeed, it was not Luo Xiaobai's team that was looking for it. In fact, Luo Xiaobai's guess was not entirely correct. It was not that most of the sea demons were dead. Instead, under the arrangement of the mysterious existence in this forest, in some areas, the sea demons were all dead. However, not everyone was a top heavenly talent, and it was impossible that only the sea demons were dying. As for the sea demons, there were many teams that also thought that the humans were all dead. So, Han Fei and Li Luoluo had just run less than 1,000 kilometers when they found many passages in the forest, leading to a large open space. In this open space, 17 sea demons appeared. Seeing this, Han Fei's eyes couldn't help but turn cold. 9 captains at the peak-level sea demon realm and 8 half-mermaid heavenly talents. All 17 of them were wearing golden battle suits and holding golden harpoons. Li Luoluo immediately ran away. This damn forest is so bad. This time it a bit troublesome. Han Fei was a little unfamiliar with the half-mermaids and half-mermaids. He felt that he was quite familiar with a few of them. They should be the survivors of the demonic forest passage. However, Han Fei didn't know their names at all. On the opposite side, a group of half-mermaids were dumbfounded at the moment. They thought that the insect tide had retreated because the one behind the scenes couldn't hold on anymore. Who would have expected that the one behind the scenes had gathered so many people together? At this moment, seeing Han Fei and Li Luoluo, these people were excited. Someone's eyes flickered. It's Han Fei, huh? No wonder so many strong masters have gathered here. It turns out to be because of him. Everyone looked to Han Fei, thinking that Li Luoluo was just a bystander. A heavenly talent shouted, "Human Han Fei!" Among them, one of them grinned. "I want this Han Fei." Someone snorted coldly. "You want him? Qin Yin Shun. Don't think you can do whatever you want just because Master Qin Yining is your adoptive father. Why don't you ask us first?" Someone sneered. "Qin Yin Shun, if you want to take Han Fei's head, you have to rely on your own means. Do you think you have any special privileges?" A captain-level powerhouse shouted, "In any case, let's kill him first." Someone sneered. "Who will be responsible for killing him?" Listening to the sea demons on the opposite side, Han Fei was lost for words. Are they so sure that they can kill me? Although there are 17 strong masters, none of them are at the sea spirit level. Even if you all use sea god descend, so what? Is the overlord's technique weak? Is the law of gravity weak? Han Fei said to Li Luoluo via voice transmission. Later, cooperate with me to kill a few first. Li Luoluo nodded. This is equivalent to a peak-level powerhouse. I can't guarantee many, but I can kill about 5. Han Fei glanced at Li Luoluo in surprise. This girl is really tough. As soon as they met, she killed 5. No wonder she is Li Luoluo, the demon girl. Han Fei scratched his head and said to the opposite side, "Do you want to challenge me one by one?" "I don't mind." Immediately, someone sneered. "Challenge? Han Fei, do you think you can leave alive with your little cleverness?" Han Fei shrugged. "So, are you going to attack together?" A heavenly talent bared his teeth. "Of course. Do you think we will underestimate your combat power? In your dreams, swish." As this person spoke, Han Fei flashed 5 times in a row and rushed into the crowd. The Overlord's technique was suddenly activated. This time, he didn't even bother to use the 9 Mansions Dragon Seal as a cover and rushed over as fast as he could. With a flip of his hand, a terrifying power suddenly fell. Li Luoluo was dumbfounded. Did he just attack? So fast and decisive? Even Li Luoluo didn't know what was going on. There were so many people on the opposite side who would use Sea God Descends as soon as they came up. Almost in an instant, everyone fell to the ground. "Not good, use." Before the man finished speaking, Han Fei had already appeared next to him, hung the void lines on him, and waved the draw technique. He was killed. Someone was shocked. Laws, it's the power of laws. Han Fei flashed again and appeared next to the speaker. He hadn't used Sea God Descends yet, and the opponent blocked him with a golden harpoon. However, puff. Han Fei pierced the opponent's neck with a knife. "Are you stupid? Do you have to cut people with a knife? Can't you stab people?" Half of the void lines were tied to this person, so that he had no chance to use the immortal seal. Han Fei chose the third person. This time, almost all the sea demons realized what was going on. In the face of someone who had the power of laws, they had to at least use Sea God Descends to save their lives. However, at this moment, Li Luoluo had already rushed over. Her eyes were red, and her figure quickly passed by them. The eyes of those who were stared at by Li Luoluo were full of bugs. At the same time, colorful flowers were blooming everywhere, and vines and grasses were everywhere. Someone shouted coldly, "It's an illusion." "Don't be fooled," Li Luoluo grinned. "Illusion? I can do more than illusions." In Han Fei's eyes, he saw it clearly. Those people's bodies were really full of bugs. Li Luoluo knew how terrifying the law of gravity was, so she directly attacked at the moment when the other party was not prepared, making people mistakenly think that she was using an illusion. At this moment, Han Fei felt sad for those people. It was really hard to imagine the feeling of a large number of bugs drilling into one's body. Just thinking about it made him shiver. Of course, Han Fei didn't stop. He raised his knife and killed another person. This was his fastest reaction. At this time, Li Luoluo could only control 3 people because of time constraints. He had killed 3 people, and the remaining 11 people were glowing with golden light, and golden phantoms appeared one after another. Han Fei suddenly grinned. "Do you really think it's just gravity?" He clenched his fist. Shake. Within the entire range of gravity, the gravity fluctuated. Several people had just gotten up, but before they could stand firm, they fell again. Chapter 909. This time, the void lines killed 3 people in a row. Han Fei didn't intend to give them a chance to escape at all. Although it would be very laborious, he didn't need to control these people. He just needed to kill them and not give them a chance to use the immortal seal. With the law of gravity alone, Han Fei could become a law enforcer. But after all, he was not a law enforcer. Once the other party could be resurrected, how could he kill them so easily? That wouldn't be easy. After all, the other party was prepared. Drawl puff. 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 After slashing 3 times in a row, Han Fei's spiritual energy gushed out, and he didn't even bother to replenish it. Secret method blood burning. Han Fei's pupils constricted. 5 people actually used another secret method at the same time. Were they risking their lives? Feeling that the law of gravity was unstable, Han Fei immediately shouted, "Kill them! We can't wait any longer." Li Luoluo had already taken action. However, the 3 people controlled by the insects would immediately become works of art without Li Luoluo's help. Li Luoluo attacked another person. In addition to being a special manipulator, she was also a hunter, a very powerful hunter. Han Fei waved his hand, and 2 fish skin maps flew out. One was a maze map, and the other was a flash map. At this moment, with a swish, his figure appeared next to a person. He slapped the 9 Mansions dragon seal with his left hand and slashed out the blood-drinking knife with his right hand. At the same time, he cast the void lines on this person. Explode. Someone felt that he was going to die because Han Fei had already appeared, so he directly chose to explode his semi-divine battle suit and harpoon. With this explosion, Han Fei and Li Luoluo flew out at the same time and were shaken back. Damn, he doesn't even care about his life? He's learning from Yushire. When the 2 semi-divine weapons exploded, the sea monster was also shaken away. Han Fei directly buckled it with the void lines and then slashed at it with his knife. When the air-breaking strike was launched, the sea monster used the flying flower demon flash and dodged it. Li Luoluo had just taken the opportunity to kill one. At this moment, seeing that Han Fei was seriously injured, she swapped places with the insects and directly appeared on the sea monster. 2 daggers stabbed straight down. Among them, the genius named Qin Yinshin saw this as an opportunity and immediately roared, "Go to hell." When Han Fei saw the guy take out a ball full of demonic energy, he immediately shouted, "Li Luoluo, come back." The sphere opened in the blink of an eye, revealing a strange scorpion tail. Suddenly, the scorpion tail enlarged. One could see that there were 3 layers of extremely sharp blades on the scorpion's tail. At this moment, he was hundreds of meters away, his tail sweeping over. "Ha ha! All of you can go to hell. The road to Royal City will always be mine." Li Luoluo screamed, "This guy is crazy." A disposable, high-quality, divine weapon. While talking, Li Luoluo had already appeared beside Han Fei and stood behind him. As for the sirens themselves, there were only 6 of them left. Two of them were in the way of the scorpion tail, so when it swept past them, they were cut into 3 pieces. Han Fei cursed. Son of a b****, you even attacked your own people? In an instant, infinity water condensed in Han Fei's palm, and he threw it out. Explode. Rumble. At this moment, the infinity water had just recovered, but Han Fei exploded it again, which made him very unhappy. The strong master behind this spiritual plant forest hadn't been found yet. This trump card was thrown out, and he was so angry that his nose almost crooked. The violent power directly set off turbulence in the forest. Han Fei and Li Luoluo were directly sent flying for dozens of meters, breaking more than 1 or 2 big trees. Blood spurted wildly from his mouth, and a fish skin map of the coiled turtle array was blown up in an instant. Fortunately, he protected Li Luoluo. Otherwise, according to Li Luoluo's physique, she would have been more seriously injured than him. The roar resounded for hundreds of kilometers. Everything within 1,000 meters of that area had been crushed to smithereens. Puff! Han Fei vomited another mouthful of blood, cast the divine healing technique on himself, and Li Luoluo glanced at Li Luoluo, who was also vomiting blood, and said, "Let's go and see." Your face. Li Luoluo's hair was messy, and her face was covered in all kinds of colors. When the violent waves rolled again, Han Fei was surprised to find that Li Luoluo. It turned out that she had been wearing a mask. Her real appearance was more like a porcelain doll, very pure, not the weird style of wearing green lipstick and black eyeshadow at all. Li Luoluo bared her teeth, and all kinds of colors converged again, restoring her original face. "I'm going to kill them." Puff. Han Fei looked up at the sky as if he didn't see anything, because Li Luoluo was furious and her momentum soared. In Han Fei's eyes, her whole body became blurred. She was alone, but she seemed to be shaking, and there was a phantom. At that moment, Han Fei seemed to understand something. Swoosh! Li Luoluo rushed out. When Han Fei rushed over, he found that Li Luoluo had changed from a hunter to a violent woman, holding a stick in her hand and hitting the ground, a bit like Xia Xiaochan when she had an attack. But that's not right. Li Luoluo quickly put away the stick, and a pair of scissors emerged from her body. With a crack, the enemy's tail was cut off. In an instant, all kinds of strange insects crawled out of the colorful vines and directly covered the enemy. There were a total of 6 people. Although the self-explosion just now didn't kill everyone, they were still miserable. At least, there were only 2 people in Han Fei's eyes at the moment. The others should have been blown away by the explosion. Among them, one was blown up by Li Luoluo. Another one was still lying in the pit, groaning. Without saying a word, Han Fei used the void lines to hook it, and then it was cut off by Han Fei. Just when Han Fei was about to find the others, he suddenly heard a burst of laughter. For some reason, Li Luoluo was saying to this insect happily, "Little sweetheart, you're finally out. Let's eat fish." Han Fei shivered. Everyone said that schizophrenia was difficult to deal with. In fact, schizophrenia was even more difficult to deal with. The girl who was hot just now was now laughing. He brought thousands of insects and directly rushed into the forest. Han Fei didn't want to follow her. Now, he didn't want to have any contact with Li Luoluo. It turned out that this was the origin of the 100-faced demon girl. Who could resist her? Han Fei also rushed out. Now, there should be 4 people. In this state, Li Luoluo should have no problem dealing with 1 or 2. He had to find one who took out the disposable, high-quality divine weapon. That guy was a tough guy, and his identity must be high. He had to find a way to kill him. Immediately, the void lines divided into 30 and soon found Qin Yinshun, who was running away. This guy was now blocked by a large group of insects. There were no blind spots, and he couldn't escape even if he had wings. Han Fei immediately grinned. It seems that the person behind the scenes doesn't want to let this guy escape. Swish! It was only a few dozen kilometers away. Han Fei flapped his wings twice. When Han Fei arrived, the insects ran away by themselves. Han Fei didn't need to do anything at all. Qin Yinshun looked back, his face extremely ugly. Han Fei bared his teeth. Oh, you can't run away? Look, the guy behind the scenes doesn't want you to go. After all, you're also a difficult guy to deal with. Anyway, as long as you die, you will become his nourishment. Instead of spending time to deal with you, I might as well let you die in my hands. With that, Han Fei said to the tree next to him, Don't you think so? You really are a clever little devil. Qin Chen frowned. Han Fei, do you really think you can kill me? Swish, swish, swish. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei flashed to Qin Chen. The latter swished and split into several clones. Han Fei sneered. Clones? Long out of date. Huh? They're not clones. They actually have power. Han Fei grinned. When he flashed over, he also left a few clones. At this moment, one was holding the golden seal in his hand, one was holding the demon-slaying spike, and the other was carrying a silver rod. Han Fei said, I forgot to tell you that my clones also have combat power. Han Fei had discovered that every time a clone appeared, they all had combat power. If he didn't deliberately make them disappear, they could last for 100 seconds. As for their strength, they were naturally not as strong as his real body. If he exerted his full strength, he could only launch a single blow. However, the power of that blow depended on whose power it was. With his current power, it shouldn't be a problem for him to blow up an intermediate hidden fissure with a single punch. If he had a semi-divine weapon, even an advanced hidden fissure could beat him up. Qin Chen didn't speak. He had just flashed out and was 100 meters away from Han Fei, glaring at Han Fei fiercely. Han Fei smiled leisurely. I know you're stalling for time. You should be using some special means. But how do you know that I am not stalling for time? Clatter. As Han Fei snapped his fingers, something seemed to be shrinking in the water. In order to confuse Qin Chen, Han Fei wound the void lines in the air one after another, like a spider web. As long as he drew the net, the opponent would not be able to escape. Go to hell. Qin Chen knew that he couldn't wait any longer. His hair instantly turned white, and a strange force directly shrouded Han Fei. F*CKU. Han Fei hurriedly retreated. I knew this person was different. He can even manipulate time. He had seen the leafless tree use this, but he didn't expect that this guy could do it too. Qin Chen laughed wildly. Han Fei, do you think you can escape? My adoptive father is the leader of the 8 wings of Blue Feather. Although you made me sacrifice 200 years of my lifespan, it's all worth it. After killing you, I can go to the royal city. Wait, why are you still alive? Han Fei was also dumbfounded. Although his reaction was extremely fast, time shouldn't have anything to do with distance, right? Around him, the vines withered, the trees shriveled, and their vitality disappeared, but he was fine. At this time, Han Fei saw the ring on his hand flickering, and he couldn't help but frown. The ring given by the time dragon carp could resist the power of time? Han Fei scratched his head. Although it's difficult to explain, I don't think you need to listen to my explanation. Just die. Rip. The void lines contracted and directly tied up Qin Chen. Han Fei's clones also attacked at the same time, directly slashing at the clones of Qin Chen. Puff. Han Fei killed Qin Chen with a slash. As for his clones, most of them were gone at this moment. Well, there was only one left, and it still wanted to run. As soon as the clone ran into the forest, Han Fei caught up with it and killed it with a slash. Humph. Qin Yining is the leader of the 8 wings of Blue Feather, but you are not. You are as arrogant as an iron-headed fish. Chapter 9:10. Han Fei lowered his head and looked at the ring on his hand. Okay, he had thought that this ring was useless. It turned out that it had such a heaven-defying effect that it could ignore the rules of time. Huh? Where's Li Luoluo? Why is there no movement at all? Han Fei quickly put away his weapon, stuffed an energy fruit into his mouth, and immediately went out to look for her. Whether Li Luoluo was schizophrenic or not, this girl was very strong, and he had to take her with him. In fact, on the Empyrean waterfall, except for Ning Jingyao, Wu Ming, and Du Jianglu, whom he was familiar with, no one else had seen them fight. He had seen Yu Shire's bravery. Now, he had seen the real 100-faced demon girl. It was said that Yui had also come. What did she look like? As for Luo Xiaobai and the others, Han Fei didn't think it would be a problem. Lu Renquang's sky-swallowing technique was very powerful and had a strange effect. If they were just insects, they shouldn't be able to stop him. The only thing he was worried about was that they would encounter many half-mermaid heavenly talents. But he didn't think so. How could there be a large group of half-mermaids here? There were only more than 5,000 half-mermaids in total. The ancient battlefield was so big. Just now, the ones he and Li Luo met should be the strongest batch. They were also the strongest group of people Han Fei had fought so far. After a while, Han Fei dug out a sea-swallowing seashell and found an art sculpture. He also found a hanging skeleton that had almost been swallowed by vines. When Han Fei found Li Luo, he found that the girl was squatting on the ground. In front of her, there were rows of insects. Those insects were standing in a square formation, each of them multicolored. Han Fei glanced around and didn't see any half-mermaids. Were they swallowed by the forest? Han Fei couldn't help but take 2 steps forward. Li Luo, what are you doing? Li Luo suddenly turned her face back, and Han Fei took a step back. She became an innocent little girl again. Seeing that the weird makeup on Li Luo's face was gone, Han Fei was a little nervous. This was not a good thing. It showed that Li Luo's schizophrenia was very serious. Li Luo bared her teeth and smiled. Brother, I'm watching the insects fight. Han Fei raised his eyelids. Well, little girl, what's your name? Li Luo smiled and said, my name is Li Kiki. Han Fei had a headache. I've never encountered such a situation before. What should I do? Ahem. Kiki, how old are you? 8 years old. He's 8 years old. Han Fei couldn't help but get goosebumps. Damn it. Li Luo still has the personality of an 8-year-old? Han Fei held back his urge and said, Kiki, wait until we leave this forest. Let's see what the formation is. What about now? Do you want to fight some bad guys with me? Li Kiki immediately jumped up. Kiki is going to beat the bad guys. Brother, don't be afraid. Kiki is very powerful. Han Fei lowered his head and said, Okay, let's go. You protect me. Yes, you protect me. Han Fei was speechless. Protect me? Now, he even wanted his brother to take care of the child? However, Han Fei suddenly thought of something. If Li Luo became Li Kiki, then he could take all the gains this time. Not bad. Not bad. Transformation also has its benefits. No one will fight with me for things. Big brother, hold my hand. Han Fei. While talking, Li Kiki had already pulled Han Fei and ran out. Han Fei was speechless. I feel like I'm committing a crime. Forget it. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the infinity water returned to his palm. After a while, the infinity water began to absorb the essence of water. Last time, Han Fei had discovered that the infinity water continuously absorbed the essence of water, and it would take 1 to 2 days for it to make a perfect self-explosion. As its strength grew, the power of its self-explosion would be greater. At this moment, although it could self-explode a second time, its power had definitely been reduced a lot. Han Fei didn't intend to use it for the time being. About an hour after Han Fei left here, Luo Xiaobai and the other 2 came over. However, at this moment, the corpses of the sea demons had all disappeared, dragged away by the vines and sucked dry. Lu Renquang looked at the huge pit on the ground and the mess around, and couldn't help but say in surprise, "What a violent battle." Zhang Xuanyu said in surprise, "Many people must have died. I wonder if it was done by humans or sea demons." Luo Xiaobai suddenly said, "It was done by Han Fei." Huh? What? Looking at Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu, who were stunned, Luo Xiaobai glanced at them. "You can't even feel Han Fei's aura?" Lu Renquang immediately clapped his hands. "Ha ha ha! I knew he was fine. But where is he now?" Zhang Xuanyu pointed to a road on the side and said, "Look, he must have walked here." The reason was that the ground where Han Fei walked was abnormally solid. The vines collapsed and pressed on the ground like a flat plate. Luo Xiaobai frowned and said, "I'm just wondering why the one in the forest didn't erase the traces here." Zhang Xuanyu smiled and said, "It shows that he is not omnipotent. He just controls all this from a distance." and the huge destructive power makes it impossible for him to control the environment here. Luo Xiaobai nodded slightly. It's possible. Let's go. Let's catch up and have a look. Han Fei was telling stories as he walked. In the past, there was a huge castle in which lived a vicious queen and a Snow White. Later, Snow White and the 7 dwarfs lived a happy life. Li Kiki exclaimed, "Bad woman, how dare she use a poisonous apple?" "Brother, what is an apple?" Han Fei shrugged. "Ah, it's a spiritual fruit." With that, Han Fei took out a spiritual fruit and took a bite. "This is it. Apples are a kind of spiritual fruit." Slurp. "Brother, I want to eat too." After taking so many things from the little girl, Han Fei generously took out a spiritual fruit and handed it to her. "Kiki, do you know where the bad guy in the forest is?" Li Kiki said, "Ask the bug." With that, a small centipede appeared in Li Kiki's palm. Li Kiki asked adorably, "Bug, do you know where the bad guy is?" Li Kiki raised her head again. "Brother, I don't know." Han Fei rolled his eyes helplessly. "Forget it. I'll pinch it myself." Han Fei pinched it for a long time and only found the most dangerous place. So, he soon found the right direction. Before Han Fei walked far, he heard someone shouting in the water, "Fei Fei, Fei Fei, are you there?" Han Fei was dumbfounded. "Zhang Xuanyu?" Han Fei immediately smiled. "You. Here, here." However, there was no response. At that time, Han Fei was so stunned that he forgot he had clairaudience. Zhang Xuanyu and the others were still a distance away from him. On the other side, the Zhang Xuanyu trio was fighting. Luo Xiaobai was controlling poisonous grasses and vines to kill the insects. At the same time, she said to Zhang Xuanyu, "It's too far. Han Fei can't hear it." Luren Kuang used the sky swallowing technique and was devouring. Only Zhang Xuanyu was relatively idle. While using the 9-layered waves in Furious Sea, he punched. Zhang Xuanyu said gloomily, "That bastard in the forest just doesn't want us to meet. Otherwise, he wouldn't call the insects again." Luo Xiaobai said lightly, "This is a good thing. It means that the one inside is not strong. It's afraid that we will get together." Zhang Xuanyu muttered, "But it will take a long time. By the way, are the insects here endless?" Luo Xiaobai snorted. "And vines. However, within 10 kilometers of me, I can compete with it for the control of the spiritual plants. I will win." About half an hour later, Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed, "Why are there more and more insects? Are they crazy? The number has doubled." Luren Kuang's eyes turned green as he swallowed. He really wanted to pass out. Luo Xiaobai focused. "It doesn't look like it. It's anxious. Why is it anxious?" Bam! Bam! The 3 of them suddenly looked to the side, where there was a tremor, which was one of the directions from which the insects came. Luren Kuang said, "No, I can swallow small insects, but if they are too big, I'm afraid I will have indigestion." However, before the crowd could react, they saw a multicolored light erupt from the depths of the forest. Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. "Oh no! Oh no! This time it must be poisonous insects." As soon as Zhang Xuanyu finished speaking, he saw a large swarm of colorful insects emerging from the ground. Luo Xiaobai and Luren Kuang looked at Zhang Xuanyu. "Damn it, say what you want." However, to their surprise, these poisonous insects actually bit the insects that surrounded them, and in a moment, more than half of them were killed or injured. The insect tide retreated. While everyone was puzzled, they saw Han Fei holding a girl's hand and running over. Luren Kuang immediately shut up. "Oh, Han Fei, you're finally here." Zhang Xuanyu's eyes lit up, and he stared at Li Kiki. "Oh my God," Sir Luo Xiaobai asked coldly, "who is she?" Before Han Fei answered, Li Kiki bowed very respectfully. "Hello, handsome brother, beautiful sister, fat brother. My name is Li Kiki, and I am 8 years old this year. Everyone." The 3 of them immediately looked at Han Fei. What's going on?" Han Fei suddenly pulled a long face and said via voice transmission, "Li Luo Luo of the Empyrean Waterfall. Multiple personalities. This is one of her personalities. She's only 8 years old." Luo Xiaobai and the others looked at each other. "Really?" Zhang Xuanyu was the first to react. Wow, what a beautiful little girl. Let me hug you. Before Han Fei could stop him, Zhang Xuanyu had already hugged her. The next second, bam! Zhang Xuanyu was sent flying and sat on the ground with a dumbfounded look. Li Kiki seemed to have changed into a different person, staring at Zhang Xuanyu with a serious face. I'm Li Kuang. What did you undo to me just now? Han Fei. Everyone. After saying that, Li Luoluo turned her head to look at Han Fei and then looked down at their hands. Suddenly, the two of them trembled at the same time and looked disgusted. Huh. Li Kuang rubbed his hands in disgust. Brother, please behave yourself. Han Fei. Chapter 9:11. Han Fei had goosebumps all over his body. How could there be a male personality? Zhang Xuanyu and the others were dumbfounded, and Luo Xiaobai's expression twitched. Is Li Luoluo such a person? Only Han Fei reacted the fastest. Ha. Brotherly, do you remember why we are here? Li Kuang twisted his neck domineeringly, took out a stick, carried it on his shoulder, and said proudly, Of course this forest is weird. Humph. Li Luoluo pretends to be a demon every day. She can't fight, so I have to do it. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. You know Li Luoluo? Li Kuang smiled contemptuously. Of course, she is the main personality. However, it's not a big problem. Although I don't come out often, I am the strongest in this body. Let's go. Everyone, Zhang Xuanyu said to Han Fei, Fei, I really can't handle this. Han Fei rolled his eyes. You sound like you can handle any one of them. If you hadn't hugged her, would Li Kuang have become Li Kuang? Luo Xiaobai asked. Han Fei, are you sure about the direction? Han Fei pointed to the direction they had just come from. Here, keep going, no matter what tricks it plays. Just go straight forward, and we will definitely find it. On the way, Luren Kuang was complaining. Let me make it clear first. Can I not eat bugs? No, everyone said in unison. So did Han Fei. If there were a lot of insects, who would eat them if not you? Li Kuang stretched out his hand and waved, and a large swarm of colorful insects followed behind him, which gave everyone a chill. Li Kuang bared his teeth and said, The insects are like soldiers. The one behind this forest has been deliberately mystifying us. I will lead 1,000,000 insect soldiers to destroy it in one fell swoop. Han Fei asked, Brotherly, how many insect soldiers can you control now? Li Kuang was stunned and said vaguely, Anyway, there are tens of thousands of them, but it doesn't matter. I am a very powerful person. Han Fei rolled his eyes. You are not powerful at all. You are so powerful that you have schizophrenia. Why are you still bragging? 3 hours later, Zhang Xuanyu said in surprise, Why haven't we touched anything? The sea demons are gone, the insects are not coming, and the vines are not moving. Could it be that the guy behind the scenes has given up? Luo Xiaobai said lightly, I don't think so. However, it knew that it was useless even if it came. I can control the vines, but as for the sea demons, Han Fei continued, the sea demons must be extinct. I joined hands with Brother Li and killed 17 half-mermaid heavenly talents right in this forest. Li Kuang nodded. Yes, they're just sea demons. I can easily crush them. Han Fei was speechless. Li Kuang is indeed bragging. I wonder if he has any real skills? At this time, Han Fei felt that this personality was not as reliable as Li Luoluo herself. At the very least, she was really powerful. Whether it was the control of timing or the efficiency of battle, he was definitely an expert among experts. Luo Xiaobai said that's it. That things should know that ordinary methods are useless against us, but it can't think of any way, so it can only do nothing. Zhang Xuanyu chuckled. That means he's really not strong. Otherwise, he would have used other means to deal with us. Han Fei said to the forest at this moment, the one behind, Actually, it's not impossible for us to give you trouble. Hand over all the treasures in this forest, destroy the seal, and we will turn around and leave immediately. Li Kuang suddenly said, No, I came out because I was holding my breath. If I lose my breath, I will die. Han Fei, the one behind the scenes, didn't respond, so they could only go straight forward. Half a day later, their eyes suddenly lit up. The forest was gone, replaced by a small mound less than 100 meters high and dozens of kilometers long. If this was a mountain, it would be too much of a compliment. Li Kuang immediately raised his stick and roared, "Monster, come out!" Along the way, everyone had a certain understanding of Li Kuang's foolishness. At this moment, no one paid attention to him anymore. However, it was not that Li Kuang was incapable. Tens of thousands of insects scattered and began to crawl all over the mountain. It only took less than half an incense stick of time. Li Kuang sneered. "Found it." Zhang Xuanyu raised his eyebrows. "Really? So fast?" Li Kuang said. "It turns out to be a kind of big insect." Luo Xiaobai frowned slightly. "Why is it so easy to find it? Doesn't the guy behind the scenes know how to escape?" Luo Xiaobai raised her hand, and a large number of vines emerged from the ground and stretched out, seeming to be looking for danger. Han Fei pinched his fingers and was also predicting misfortune. However, neither of them found any danger, so they followed Li Kuang all the way forward. After walking around the mound for a long time, Li Kuang stood under a soil slope. At this moment, everyone saw it clearly. It turned out to be a lobster. However, this lobster was a bit strange. Its body seemed to be made of rotten wood, and its legs were stuck in the soil on the rocks. At this moment, it was lying vertically on the soil among the rocks, head down. In fact, this was the only decent marine creature that Han Fei and the others had seen on this ancient battlefield. In Han Fei's eyes, information emerged. Name tree lobster introduction, a legendary creature that is almost extinct. It is extremely rare in the major demon plant forests. It has strong spiritual power. Because its body is connected to the earth veins, it can control the earth veins and spiritual plants. However, its combat ability is low and it is very easy to be hunted. When a tree lobster encounters a dragon worm, stickworm, its strength will be doubled and it can almost sweep the entire spiritual plant forest. Level 61, quality legendary, contains spiritual energy greater than 52,630 points, edible effect. After eating, there is a certain chance to gain the ability to teleport. Collectible lobster tendon, absorbable, remarks lobster tendon can be used to refine ultra-quality divine weapons, which is also the reason why tree lobsters are rare. After seeing this thing, Han Fei was tempted. Although he was attracted by the lobster tendon, he didn't lack weapons now. As for the fourth contractual spiritual beast, he could consider taking this thing first. Of course, Han Fei also noticed another thing, which was the stick insect called the dragon worm. According to the ability of a tree lobster, it shouldn't be able to control thousands of insects, causing this area to have nothing but insects and vines. Then, there must be a dragon worm here. Besides, why didn't the tree lobster run away? Why did he appear so openly? Was he unable to escape, or was he covering for the stick insect? If this was the case, this tree lobster was quite smart. If he hadn't seen its introduction, he wouldn't have expected that there was another creature here. Li Kuang shouted, "Let me kill this thing." Han Fei quickly grabbed him and said, brotherly, don't panic." Li Kuang turned his head. "What's wrong?" Han Fei said, "This lobster is weird. Let me go talk to it." Everyone. Luo Xiaobai frowned. "Han Fei, what do you want to do?" Luren Kuang said in surprise. Fei, can this guy talk? What's there to talk about? I think we can just stab it to death with a stick." Li Kuang agreed. "Yes, stab it to death." Han Fei shook his head and said, "Don't panic. We have found its nest. Why should we be afraid of it?" Swish! Han Fei flashed to the top of the soil slope and walked to the other side of the slope. He said casually, "Big lobster, are you coming? Let's talk?" The tree lobster's eyes narrowed and its claws moved slightly. Seeing that Han Fei had no killing intent, it hesitated a little, turned around, and climbed towards the top of the mountain as if sneaking. Li Kuang was speechless. My breath. Sister, where is big brother?" Luo Xiaobai and the others. Because he couldn't sense anything here, Han Fei sat directly on the top of the mountain and patted the hillside next to him. "Come here, let's talk." The tree lobster was not very close, about 20 meters away from Han Fei. However, such a short distance was nothing for Han Fei. Han Fei chuckled. 3 things. First, Tell me where the sealed artifact is. When we came in, we already felt it. Second, where is the treasure? Don't say there is nothing. How can there be nothing in such a large forest? Third, if you want that insect to live, you'd better tell me the first two things. The tree lobster shivered slightly and wanted to run away. But Han Fei had already appeared beside it with a swish. The void lines were all pressed on its body. Squeak! Han Fei saw insect crawling out from all directions. Immediately, he said lightly, "How many times have you two tried? Insects can't kill me. In this case, let's make an equal exchange. I'm not interested in taking your lives. I just want the treasure and the sealed artifact." Han Fei didn't say this to the tree lobster, but to the stick insect who didn't know where it was. At this moment, Han Fei was reading the information. He saw a round stone that seemed to have been split in half by someone. Under the stone, there was a cave, and in the cave was a strange, small, mysterious space. "Hey, found it." At this time, a vine emerged from Han Fei's side, and Luo Xiaobai said, "Han Fei, do you need help?" Han Fei replied, "No. Wait for me for a moment." If this tree lobster was a legendary creature, then the stick insect shouldn't be too bad. In the blink of an eye, he subdued 2 legendary creatures. What a rare thing. The tree lobster had no combat power, so it was easily controlled by Han Fei. Its plan to sacrifice itself to save the stick insect didn't succeed. When Han Fei and the tree lobster came to the stone together, Han Fei found a large number of insects waiting for him, trying to stop Han Fei. Han Fei turned his hand and pressed down, and immediately insect corpses were everywhere. I said, "Insects are useless to me. What I want is the treasure." With that said, Han Fei controlled the tree lobster and directly entered this strange small space. And he followed closely behind. Chapter 9:12. As soon as Han Fei stepped into this small space, he found that this was the secret of this forest. In this super small secret realm, there was only a stick inserted into the ground. Of course, what Han Fei noticed at first glance was not the stick, but the big insect clinging to the stick. Han Fei looked it up and down. Its body was also like rotten wood, but there was a faint golden light on the edge, and it looked like a glowing dead branch. It turned out that this thing was controlling the insects in the forest. This was a golden gray stick insect, up to 2 meters high, with 8 sections, 6 claws, and hook-like antennae. At this moment, many insects were surrounding it. In Han Fei's eyes, information emerged. Name, dragon insect, introduction, an extremely rare stick insect. Extremely rare in the major demon plant forests. It has strong spiritual power and can control insects. However, its combat ability is low and it is very easy to be hunted. When a tree lobster encounters a dragon insect, its strength will be doubled and it can almost sweep the entire spiritual plant forest. Level 61, quality legendary, contains spiritual energy greater than 53,022 points, edible effect after eating it. There is a certain chance that you can talk to the insect. Collectible insect honey absorbable. Note, insect honey is a rare material for alchemy and is one of the important materials for making magic pills. Han Fei grinned. "We finally meet? Is this stick the sealed artifact?" Han Fei could tell at a glance that this stick was by no means an ordinary object. It felt a bit like the cosmic sword. It was either a high-quality divine weapon or an ultra-quality divine weapon. Was it a sea-quelling bizarre treasure? Probably not. Snowmorn had looked much more splendid than this stick at the beginning. Hee, Zhang Xuan, you got lucky. Han Fei didn't care at all. He had the embroidery needle, and this silver stick was also useful. Even if he could use this stick, he wouldn't be able to unleash its full potential. So, he might as well give it to Zhang Xuanyu. Han Fei looked around and found a corpse lying here. However, this corpse was half sitting on the ground, so it should be really dead. It wouldn't suddenly come back to life and attack him. Except for this corpse, there was no spiritual spring or spirit awakening fluid. Han Fei wanted to give it a bad review. Han Fei stared at the stick insect with an awful look. "I'll give you 3 seconds to consider. Where's the treasure? Do you have spiritual spring and spirit awakening fluid?" Suddenly, there seemed to be a vague voice in Han Fei's head. "Can you control it?" Han Fei couldn't help but smile. This stick insect can talk. It was naturally referring to the tree lobster. At this moment, the divine soul of the tree lobster was under his control. Since he couldn't communicate with the dragon worm, it naturally meant that the tree lobster was being controlled. Han Fei grinned. The second. Insect Dragon Jia immediately replied, "Actually, there's nothing good here. We're just guarding the seal." Han Fei opened his mouth, and the infinity water appeared in his hand. The third second, wait. Han Fei's eyes were cold. What? Have you thought it through? Chong Long Jie said, "That little girl who controls insects needs me. I've already told her that I'm willing to be her contractual spiritual beast. I will also tell you where the treasure is." Han Fei bared his teeth. "Do you think I dare not kill you?" Chong Long Jie said, "You don't have to kill me. I'm just an insect. Since you control the tree lobster, why don't you let me go?" Han Fei said in his heart, "Collect." The tree lobster was immediately collected into the demon purification pot. After all, its soul was now under his control, so it was up to him whether to collect it or not. The only thing that surprised Han Fei was that this stick insect was too smart. Within 3 seconds, it actually gave up its legendary status and directly agreed to be Li Luo's contractual spiritual beast. Did that mean that he had captured a legendary creature for nothing? Swish! Swish! Luo Xiaobai and the others ran in one after another. Insect! Han Fei shuddered and immediately looked at Luo Xiaobai. Luo Xiaobai said, "If you take that lobster away, she will be replaced." Han Fei. Ow! Stick! At first glance, Zhang Xuanyu saw the stick inserted in the center of the small secret realm, and his eyes almost glowed green. Luo Xiaobai clasped Zhang Xuanyu with a vine, pulled him back, and looked at Han Fei quietly. What happened? Han Fei pursed his lips and said, "I wanted to destroy it. However, that thing took the initiative to finally Kiki." Although Han Fei felt it was a pity that he couldn't collect a legendary creature. However, it was not without its benefits. This insect dragon knew where the treasure was. Li Kiki collected it and helped him find the treasure, so it was not a loss. Han Fei looked at Li Kiki and said, "Kiki, let this insect be your contractual spiritual beast, okay?" Li Kiki pouted, hesitated for a long time, and suddenly said, "Sister Luo, Kiki won't accept it." Han Fei's eyelids twitched, and he saw Li Kiki's face slowly distort, and all kinds of colors returned. Where her lips turned bluish-purple, Han Fei knew that Li Luo was back. "Oh, damn, stupid Kiki. You should have returned my body to me long ago. Why did you give it to Li Kuang? That idiot, he's just a dumbass." Li Kiki was angry, and then gave Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu a threatening look. "Don't tell anyone." Han Fei shrugged and said tiredly, "Hurry up and take back your stick insect." Li Kiki's eyes lit up, and she stepped forward. "Good insect." Zhang Xuanyu touched Han Fei's shoulder and said via voice transmission, "You're back." Han Fei nodded. "Yes. No one can predict the change of personality. It's good that you can come back. Li Luo is normal. However, now we only see 5 people, Li Kiki, Li Kuang, Li Luo, and 2 unknown names. Maybe a few haven't come out yet?" "Wow." Zhang Xuanyu took a breath and said, "There are more." Han Fei remembered that when he fought with Sun Mu and when infinity water exploded, Li Luo seemed to have changed her personality into another character. Who were those 2? Han Fei didn't know. Besides, her nickname was 100-Faced Demon, so it was normal for her to have 7 or 8 personalities. Han Fei was still thinking when he heard Zhang Xuanyu's voice. "Fei, well, can you introduce her to me when we return to the Empyrean Waterfall?" Han Fei. Han Fei looked at Zhang Xuanyu in shock. "Are you kidding me? Believe it or not, she can stab you at any moment." Zhang Xuanyu said carelessly, "Didn't Xia Xiaochan stab you often? I've seen it many times. It's not a big deal." Han Fei was speechless. "Don't forget, she can control insects. I'm afraid that when you wake up, you will only be a skeleton." Zhang Xuanyu's smile froze. Then let me think about it." Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu whispered for a long time. On the other side, Li Luo had signed a contract with the stick insect. Li Luoluo looked back at Han Fei with a strange look. I know the location of the treasure. How to seal this stick. As long as it falls, the seal will be broken. Zhang Xuanyu immediately said, let me try. 9 layered waves in furious sea. A rumbling sound came from the small secret realm. The terrifying power could topple mountains and overturn seas. However, that stick could actually launch an invisible barrier to resist. Zhang Xuanyu's 2 rounds of bombardment failed to break the barrier. Seeing that he couldn't break it, he put his hands behind his back and said lightly, not bad. It's indeed a barrier. Fei, I'm just trying. You're better than me in strength. Li Luoluo rolled her eyes and muttered, if you can't break it, then you can't. Why are you pretending? Zhang Xuanyu's face suddenly turned livid. Am I being despised? Am I being despised? Luren Kuang shook his head slightly. He was tired of seeing Zhang Xuanyu pretending in front of the little girl. Seeing that there was no water in this secret realm, he immediately suggested, shall we eat hot pot here? Luo Xiaobai frowned. Step back. Clang, clang, dong, dong, dong. Invincible fist, marks bombarded crazily. The terrifying power caused the earth to quake and the mountains to shake. After more than 30 punches, everyone heard a kacha sound and the barrier collapsed. Han Fei casually pulled out the stick and threw it to Zhang Xuanyu. Xiaobai, I found that there are strong and weak barriers. The defense power of this barrier is very strong. Bam! Before Luo Xiaobai could answer, the secret realm suddenly exploded and seawater instantly poured in. The whole forest was shaking, and the seawater was trembling violently, stretching for many kilometers. In the sky above their heads, there seemed to be thunder, which seemed to have triggered the seal of the outside world. Luo Xiaobai said, the seal must have loosened. Maybe there is a chance to break this space. Han Fei immediately said to Li Luoluo, hurry up, take us to find the treasure. The people outside have come in. How can we have a chance? Luren Kuang nodded repeatedly. Yes. Finding the treasure is more important. Li Luoluo ran out with a swish. Follow me. This time, there were no insects in the forest to stop them. They were extremely fast, and it only took half an hour to reach the place where the treasure was. At this time, the seawater was still shaking. Luo Xiaobai guessed, it's very likely that the outside world is trying to break the secret realm. Han Fei nodded. Then we have to hurry up. Li Luoluo stepped on the ground, and a large group of insects began to dig into the ground. After a while, a big pit appeared in the ground. When everyone looked at it, their blood froze. There were all kinds of corpses and all kinds of weapons here. The tree lobsters and the dragon worms must have killed these people, sucked them dry, and then dragged them to this place to be buried. Many a little makes a mickle, and now the pit was full. Luren Kuang said, wow, so many semi-divine weapons. While Luren Kuang was amazed, Han Fei had already jumped in. Why are you looking at the semi-divine weapons? The divine weapons are right here. Luren Kuang hurriedly said, hey, don't grab them, Zhang Xuanyu said, one stick might not be enough. Li Luoluo added, and mine. In a moment, a group of bandits directly took away all the weapons that had been buried in the pit for a long time. Only Luo Xiaobai stood by the pit, looked up at the sky, and murmured, outside, it's still not broken. Chapter 9:13. Outside the forest, it was a scene of devastation. The 5 of them stood here, not knowing where to go. Luo Xiaobai asked, where is Little White? Han Fei said helplessly, it seems to be advancing and can't come out for the time being. Zhang Xuanyu held his rod and almost rubbed it into his body. He said carelessly, you can go anywhere you want. Luren Kuang exclaimed, someone has come out. Han Fei and the others turned their heads. Wasn't that Yui? Seeing Han Fei and Li Luoluo together, Yui immediately waved her hand. Han Fei, Luoluo. Li Luoluo looked at Han Fei and the others. Remember to keep it a secret. Li Kiki, Li Kuang, they're all fake. Yui walked over quickly, looked at the 5 of them, and asked in surprise, did you just come out of the forest? Li Luoluo giggled. Well, we destroyed the sealed artifact in the forest. Yui couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. I knew it, but there were too many insects in the forest, so we couldn't go in at all. But are you sure what you destroyed was a sealed artifact? It seems that the seal outside hasn't been opened yet. Han Fei said, more than one sealed artifact was destroyed. 12, and I destroyed one before. Yui's eyes lit up. Where is he? Han Fei shrugged. I was separated from him. I don't know where he is now. Yui sighed. What are you doing here? Han Fei replied, thinking about where to go. Yui pointed in a direction. There are a lot of people went in that direction before. Luo Xiaobai asked, sea demons or humans? Yui smiled. Both. Some people passed by and didn't enter, but we manipulators didn't let them go. Who knew that there were only insects in it? The other flowers were too ugly. Zhang Xuanyu couldn't help poking his head out. Girl, hello. Before he finished speaking, Han Fei pressed his head back with one hand. Then let's go in that direction. So many people are going there. There must be something going on. Han Fei just pinched his head and found that there seemed to be something there. In that case, let's go. The group of 5 became 6 at this moment. One day later, before they found anything strange, the seawater suddenly trembled again, this time more violently. This time, the air above the seawater changed. Everyone seemed to see some illusions, as if they could see the sky outside. However, this vibration slowly subsided. Luo Xiaobai said, someone broke the seal again. The barrier is about to be broken. Luren Kuang suddenly said, it seems to be just ahead. Everyone immediately looked at him, only to see him smile innocently. I feel that there seems to be a slight suction force in front of me. It just erupted. 2 hours later, Han Fei sensed that there was a big hole in front of him. The shape was a bit like the bottomless pit in the transverse mountain that everyone was talking about. In front of the cave, bodies were everywhere, and Han Fei was surprised to see Tengu, Mu Ling, Jiang Qin, and the others. In addition to Jiang Qin and the others, Sun Mu, Yi Baiyu, Chao Tian, and others were all here. Of course, there were a lot of people from the Empyrean Waterfall here too. Han Fei glanced around and found at least 50 familiar faces. As for the battlefield outside the cave, the remains of hundreds of half-mermaids and half-mermaids were lying on the ground. Han Fei felt that this was a matter of course. In a sense, human heavenly talents had an advantage over sea demons, and this advantage was their foundation. It didn't mean that sea demons had no advantages, but they wouldn't have a family, an academy, or an organization. But human beings were different. Sun Mu's weapons were all new, which was a signal. How could people without a foundation have the ability to replace all their swords with semi-divine weapons? How could they have the ability to get ultra-quality divine weapons? Han Fei didn't tell the others. When they were 50 kilometers away, Yui took the lead and said, there are a lot of people ahead. Han Fei couldn't help but look at her in surprise. A peak-level hidden fisher could perceive 50 kilometers? Then Li Luoluo also exclaimed, I see Qing Chun, General, and Nameless. Yui frowned. 12 is not here. The Luo Xiaobai trio looked at each other. They could tell their strength from their perception. In terms of strength alone, Yui and Li Luoluo were probably stronger than them. Luo Xiaobai asked, how far? Han Fei said, Yui is 50 kilometers away, and I'm about 42 kilometers away from Luoluo. Luo Xiaobai nodded slightly. The gap was not big, which was acceptable. After a while, Han Fei and the others arrived one after another. Wang Dashui waved at them. Little junior brother, little junior sister. At the moment when Han Fei and the others appeared, Sun Mu, Mo Fian, and the others gathered together spontaneously, and some of their subordinates were also there. The total number of people here was 5 times that of the Thug Academies. Tang Ge didn't wave at them, but said to Han Fei via voice transmission, our relationship hasn't been completely exposed yet. I'll hide it for now. Han Fei shook his head. No, we've probably been exposed. In this competition for the sea quelling painting, the strong masters of all parties must have predicted your existence. Tengu said, even if they know, they may not tell each other. There are also fights between the big clans in the Thousand Star City. Besides, the 7 major sects are not as simple as they seem on the surface. Han Fei glanced at them and replied, Not everyone on the Empyrean Waterfall side is good. I don't know many people, but I guess many of them also have sea tokens. The two exchanged information and didn't pay attention to each other anymore. Li Luo and Yui both want to find other people. They knew that Han Fei and the Thug Academy were a whole, so they naturally left. Jiang Qin was sitting cross-legged, and Chu Linyuan got up and said, "Junior brother, junior sister, how was your trip?" Luo Xiaobai responded lightly, "Senior brother, I gain a lot." Mu Qingchuan smiled and said, "That's good. If everything goes well, the barrier will be opened soon. The rest of the sea demons are very likely to be killed." Han Fei nodded slightly. So Blue Feather was really cheated this time? At this moment, Jiang Qin said lightly, "I just successfully deceived Blue Feather once." He thought this was just the ancient battlefield, but he didn't know that the ancient battlefield was actually the entrance to the underground city. Once the barrier outside is broken, as long as Blue Feather comes in, he will be like a turtle in a jar. The 8 wings of Blue Feather may all die. Luo Xiaobai and the others couldn't help but be shocked. Shueishenqi made a good move. However, Jiang Qin said, "But don't be happy too early. It's not easy to kill Blue Feather and the others. This time, Blue Feather may have a backup plan." Han Fei glanced at the others sitting here and couldn't help but say, "How many backup plans can he have?" Jiang Qin nodded. "This is why I said that the 8 wings of Blue Feather may be almost all lost. Even if he has the legendary trump card of the capital, it's obviously not enough. However, the big clans and the 7 academies in the 1,000-star city have more trump cards than our Thug Academy, which is not necessarily a good thing for us." At this time, Luo Xiaobai looked at the big black hole that led to somewhere unknown. "Is this the way to the underground city?" Jiang Qi nodded. "It should be, but this has nothing to do with the bottomless hole in the transverse mountain. It's independent." Han Fei couldn't help sighing. "I'm really afraid that if I jump down from here, I will run to the other side of the world." Everyone. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. "It's okay. Not all of us humans are here, right? There are still many people scattered everywhere." Mu Qingchuan said, "So far, 5 seals have been broken, and this spiritual barrier is no longer stable. Otherwise, this place wouldn't have been exposed so quickly, and there wouldn't have been so many people gathered here. Those who should come will come soon, and those who shouldn't come had better not come." Han Fei said in surprise, 5 seals have been broken?" Jiang Qin said, "Didn't you feel that when the seal was broken just now, the spiritual barrier outside was almost opened?" Lu Rinquang couldn't help saying, "What if the outside world is broken and the sea demons come here first?" Luo Xiaobai said directly, "That's impossible. So many human heavenly talents are gathered here. If all parties have tricks behind them, it's impossible for the sea demons to come here first." Han Fei patted Lu Rinquang on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry. If you can't do it, just jump into the hole. Anyway, you have to jump in the end." Lu Rinquang sighed leisurely. "As long as there are no bugs in it, it's okay." Another day passed. There were as many as 500 humans outside this big hole. During this time, a group of about 60 sea demons came here, and they were so scared that they ran away. But no one chased them at all. Chu Linyuan's answer was, "Don't chase them. When the spiritual barrier outside is broken, all the sea demons here will die." Han Fei's strange reaction was 60 seas swallowing seashells. Everyone, suddenly, the sea suddenly shook, and a dazzling brilliance burst out from the sky, and ripples of seawater trembled. Jiang Qin suddenly opened her eyes. "It's broken." Boom! Gotcha! They didn't know which part of the seal was broken, but the sound resounded through the entire sea area. At this moment, everyone suddenly stood up. The roar continued. The phantom of an azure dragon emerged, and the sea-shaking bell rang. Han Fei and the others could only feel a burst of huge waves. Soon, in less than 10 minutes at most, a few hundred kilometers away from Han Fei and the others, brilliance overflowed and thunder rumbled. Swish! A woman holding a sword suddenly appeared and stood directly in the air, as if defending against someone. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Who is this?" Before Han Fei asked, some young women in the crowd stood up one after another. Han Fei was very familiar with one of them, Gong Yuehan. Gong Yuehan bowed. "Greetings, Senior Aunt." The woman didn't even respond, and her figure disappeared with a swish. Following her 100 kilometers away, Han Fei perceived that the woman had just swung her sword 10 kilometers away and was fighting with a half-mermaid. Han Fei knew that person. He was Yu Ji's master, Yu Beichun, who ranked 6th among the 8 wings of Blue Feather. Chapter 9:14. Welcome to the new leader, Refusal. Han Fei was deeply shocked by that sword strike. It was too strong and invincible. The sword seemed slow, but was actually fast. The seawater was divided, and the brilliance was hundreds of meters high. Is this the power of a real, strong master? Yu Beichun was also extraordinary. The phantom of the big fish was thousands of meters high in the sky, and the yellow giant stood upright with a harpoon in his hand like a god. Han Fei seemed to hear the uncle-level master of the Jade Fairy Palace snort coldly and wave his sword. In an instant, the shadow of 1,000 meters high was released. Bubbles rolled and waves surged. Under the sword strike, the big fish was destroyed, and Yu Beichun was slashed out of Han Fei's perception range. Oh my god! Han Fei didn't know why the people of the Jade Fairy Palace arrived first. Logically speaking, it should be the strong masters of the big clans of the Thousand-Star City who arrived first. At this moment, at the entrance of the cave, everyone looked solemn and prepared for battle, although it didn't seem to be of any use. In Han Fei's perception, there were battles in all directions, and all the 8 wings of Blue Feather seemed to have come out. In the sea, there was a mighty sound. Blue Feather was shouting, "Good, good, good, Shueishenqi, you're really generous. Do you really want to start a full-scale war?" Shueishenqi's indifferent voice sounded. "When did the human race and the sea demons stop fighting? 10,000 Demon Valley. I'll take you on." Rumble. Terrifying waves swept in all directions, and the sound of explosions rumbled in everyone's ears. The aftershock shook thousands of kilometers. As for the bottom of the sea, Han Fei seemed to be facing layers of huge waves. The big waves were like drums, and many people's faces began to turn pale. At this moment, a divine weapon descended from the sky. When everyone saw it clearly, it was a death door. Wherever the door stood, the big waves parted. On both sides of the door, waves rolled like floodgates were opened. Someone stood on the door as if standing in the clouds. The heavenly talents of the Death Door's sect all stepped forward. Elder Duan, 1 inch for 1,000 years, a hoarse roar burst out in the water, and the roar was bursting out of everyone's perception. Immediately afterward, a person flew over, covering hundreds of kilometers in an instant. In Han Fei's perception, that person's battle clothes were rotten, and his black hair turned white in an instant. Han Fei's eyes widened. The leader of the 8 wings of Blue Feather, Qin Yining, when that person flew back, all the origin returning peak prodigies chased after him, shouting, Uncle Master, Uncle Master." Amidst the waves, Blue Feather laughed. "Shueishenqi, did you ever think that the 8 wings of Blue Feather were all sea spirits?" However, a voice rang out. "I, Qin Yining, the leader of the 8 wings of Blue Feather, broke the spirit and sought the way 20 years ago." Han Fei was horrified. The realms of sea demons were sea demon, sea spirit, breaking the spirit to seek the way, and entering the way to be venerable. The 1,000-year shadow to seek the way meant that he already had the power of an explorer. Within 100 miles, the 1,000-year shadow had already appeared. The experts of the Death Door sect blocked it with a hand seal, and the 3 great doors fell from the void. Almost in an instant, the 3 gates shattered. Han Fei saw that Qin Yining had arrived in an instant, and then a man in green appeared out of nowhere. His right arm was ablaze, and his fist was like a collapsing mountain. The waves were shattered inch by inch, and time was like a mirror, collapsing everywhere. The man retreated dozens of meters and said, "Chao family, Chao Wudi." Jiang Qin said to everyone via voice transmission, "Chao Wudi is a genius. He became a law enforcer 18 years ago when he was 26 years old. Now he has become an explorer and is known as the martial maniac. He is Chao Chio's uncle." Han Fei and the others immediately grabbed a vine and gasped. The explorer had come out again. The seal had just been broken. It seemed that the battle outside was in chaos. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. It's a pity that I can't see them fight. Jiang Qin shook her head slightly. You'll die if you see them. Just stay here. On the other side, Chao Chiu waved his hand. Uncle, over here. Chao Wudi looked down and grunted. Don't embarrass yourself when you go down this time. Fight hard. If anyone tries to stop you, kill them. After saying that, Chao Wudi's foot tore through the air, actually forcefully colliding with Qin Yingying's law of time. His fists gathered thousands of shadows, which made everyone's heart tremble. Even Han Fei was no exception. At that moment, he felt that his little friend had made a breakthrough in the art of invincibility. This guy was too strong, so strong that his blood froze. After a while, strong masters arrived one after another, but most of them were law enforcers. All the sea demons that wanted to get close to the big hole, as long as one of them appeared, there would be a law enforcer coming out of the hole. Han Fei perceived that there were 4 battles 100 kilometers away. One person is missing. Han Fei frowned and said, the second of the 8 wings of Blue Feather is a mysterious man named Jiu Honghai. I've never seen him before. Suddenly, above the giant gate in front of everyone, a gaze swept down. It was the strong master from the Death Door sect who seemed to have heard Han Fei's voice transmission. Han Fei didn't care. It's already so chaotic today. What's the big deal if I know some secrets? Jiang Qin said, it doesn't matter. Chu Linyuan put an elbow on Han Fei's shoulder and said, don't worry. Everyone has sent someone, but our Thug Academy hasn't sent anyone yet. Han Fei couldn't help but wonder, who? Is the old man coming? Mu Qingchuan chuckled. Interesting. I heard that you get along well with Elder Jiang. It seems that it's true. The strong master from the Death Door sect set up 3 gates in front of everyone in a triangular shape. No matter how furious the waves outside were, the place where they were was safe and sound. As for the humans scattered in other places, Han Fei didn't know what to do. They might have run out, been beaten silly, or been killed in the aftermath. Han Fei was suddenly alarmed. He had a bad feeling. As soon as that feeling appeared, in his perception, 9 shadows came from 9 places. Shui Shinqi's voice suddenly sounded. Why don't you take action? Humph. I don't need you to tell me. Crack, crack, crack. Above everyone's heads, there was a large array of 10,000 meters, 9 inside and out, each with crisscrossing lines, rotating and shining with strange light. Trample on the heavenly palace and set up a strange gate. Only I, Jiang Wudi, am able to defeat this array, while Han Fei was dumbfounded. Oh no, not only Han Fei, but everyone else was dumbfounded. Old Jiang stood on the array with his hands behind his back. At that moment, within 1,000 meters, mystic light shone and murderous intent filled the air. Out of the 9 figures that were rushing over, 8 of them were crushed in an instant. Gulp! Zhang Xuanyu bump Han Fei. Fei, is this the old man you mentioned? Lu Renkuang's face was full of emotion. Oh no, his eyes were full of hearts. So awesome. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Sure enough, it was old Jiang. This old guy had hidden himself too well, and the way he showed up was too cool. What the F*** CK? I'll be invincible in the 1,000-meter-long array. Old man, you're so shameless. Turning his head, he saw Jiang Qin's face was black. Chu Linyuan and Mu Qingchuan were muttering something. And Wang Dashuai and Bai Lu looked up and seemed to be quite amazed. Han Fei glanced at them. Even the big boss behind him has something to show off. Don't we need it? In the next second, Han Fei received a voice transmission. Little B** starred. Don't you know how to cheer for me? Han Fei was speechless. Sure enough, he still wanted to show off. Han Fei took a deep breath and shouted in the water. Old immortal thug, your magic power is boundless, and your array contains 3,000. Gods destroy Buddhas, and 1,000 stars are the best. Smack. He didn't know where the slap came from, but Han Fei staggered. Old Jiang was glaring at him. Brat, why are you telling the truth? Shut up. Han Fei. Han Fei was furious. Old B asterisk starred. I'm flattering you, but you still slap me? When Han Fei came back to his senses, he found that everyone was looking at him speechlessly. Jiang Qin's black face had turned red. Sure enough, shameless people were invincible in the world. If these two didn't deserve it, who else could? Chu Linyuan looked at himself in shock. No wonder you're the little junior brother who is most familiar with old Jiang. You're really excellent. Luo Xiaobai lowered her head, thinking about something. She probably didn't want to talk to Han Fei at this time. As for the others, Han Fei didn't care about them. Old Jiang laughed loudly, and a strange light flashed in the array, and thousands of shadows raged, directly stirring a black figure to run around. However, in the array, if he wanted to escape, he had to break the array first. As a result, within 100 meters, the person was quickly crushed and annihilated by the battle. During this period, there was also a 9-headed snake, which tried to rush into the array, but old Jiang stomped on it and directly crushed all its 9 heads. That scene was really shocking. No matter what other people thought of the Thug Academy before, at this moment they were all horrified. Even the powerhouse of the Death Door sect looked extremely solemn. If old Jiang wanted to take action, he wouldn't be able to resist at all. Next door, Chao Chiu was asking, "Sister, this is a senior of the Thug Academy. Who's stronger between you and my uncle?" Old Jiang was sleeping in the air, holding a wine gourd and drinking. Hearing this, he immediately sneered. "How can Chao Wudi be compared with me?" Chao Jiren said, "This senior is old, and your uncle is still young. It's hard to say who will win in the future." Old Jiang was immediately unhappy when he heard this. "What do you mean I'm old? Am I old?" Immediately, he said to Han Fei via voice transmission, "You argue with her." Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Go away. What does it have to do with me? You're so old. Shouldn't you leave the limelight to me? Leave it to you? Ha! You can't even resist a snakehead of Jiuhong Hai. Leave it to you." In the distance, there were constant roars. In the end, Han Fei found that the land 100 kilometers away had completely collapsed. The ground was full of cracks, and smoke and dust were rolling like clouds in the sky. "Huh, Shueshenshi, are you really not afraid of the one under the 10,000 Demon Valley?" Shueshenshi sneered. "Call him if you have the guts. Let's see if I'm afraid." Chapter 9:15. No one knew what was going on outside. Anyway, the battle was so fierce that everyone seemed to be in the middle of a storm. Except for the corner where Han Fei and the others were. The other places had already been turned into a mess. They couldn't see anything with the naked eye. Shueshenshi and Blue Feather were fighting head-on. Han Fei even wondered if they would destroy this ancient battlefield. After about half an hour, the battle finally ended and all parties returned to peace. Han Fei asked old Jiang via voice transmission, "Grandpa, what happened? How many died?" Old Jiang said telepathically, 4 of the 8 wings of Blue Feather died, and Blue Feather was heavily wounded by 2 explorers. He has already escaped. Speechless, Han Fei curled his lips. "Only 4 died. I thought they were all going to die." Old Jiang snorted. "You brat, what do you know? Shueshenshi just talked big, but he certainly wouldn't really kill Blue Feather. First, there were still strong masters in the 10,000 Demon Valley, and second, if Blue Feather was killed, there would be a new Dao-seeking master. So, he might as well keep Blue Feather." Han Fei asked curiously, "What about that Qin Yining? Did you kill him?" "No. At the Explorer level, it's not easy for him to die, let alone escape. However, although he didn't completely destroy the 10,000 Demon Valley this time, he saw how strong they were. At least, as many as 32 sea spirits were killed or injured in this battle. All the sea demons that entered the ancient battlefield were annihilated. None of them survived. Han Fei immediately swallowed. This was already very strong. Han Fei asked again, "What about humans? What about the human masters?" Old Jiang chuckled. "If it weren't for protecting the human seeds, at most 2 of the 8 wings of Blue Feather could escape this time. Most of them were protected. This battle was a great victory for humans." Han Fei couldn't help but admire him. Even he thought that the sea demons actually knew about the sea quelling painting. But who the hell knew? Blue Feather, this fool, didn't know at all. If he didn't know, why did he get involved in this matter? He must have been hit in the head by an ironhead fish. After calming down for a while, Han Fei felt that if he were in Blue Feather's position, even if he knew there was a trap, he would still jump into it. Otherwise, if humans obtained the primordial battlefield, the threat to the sea demons would be greatly increased. TSK. It's an open scheme. At this moment, Han Fei was thinking that a guy who could be the supreme commander was really not simple. Whether the sea demons participated or not, he would be able to maximize the benefits. This battle could even determine the future of the Scattered Stars Island for decades to come. It was indeed brilliant. A moment later, several figures appeared in midair. Shueishenqi stepped forward and cupped his hands at old Jiang. The latter pressed his hand into the formation, and the formation let out a ka sound. A moment later, he was captured by the old man and disappeared. Shwa. This time, there were more than 100 law enforcers. Chow Woody had also returned. At this moment, there were 3 explorers present, and it could be said that they were in a tripartite confrontation. The other 7 major sects, the big clans of the Thousand Star City, and those wild law enforcers were also present. Han Fei looked around, but old Han was not there. Old Han wants me to grab the sea-quelling painting, but he's not here. He's really ambitious. The big shots didn't speak, and the juniors all went to visit their elders. In less than 2 minutes, dozens of people came here. Han Fei saw that Yushire was carried over by a middle-aged man who was as strong as a bodybuilder. Upon a closer look, there were as many as 523 hidden fissures here. Han Fei asked in surprise, "What? Everyone can enter?" Shueishenqi shouted, "This time, humans have won a great victory. More than 5,000 sea demons and half-mermaids have been slaughtered. You've made a great contribution." "Wow, slaughtered them all? Doesn't it mean that the sea demons are crippled?" "Wow, I'm afraid this is a trap, right?" "We won." Below, there was some commotion. Next to Han Fei, only Lu Renquang sighed. "I knew it. This is the first time in history that such a large-scale battle has happened. How can it be so simple?" Zhang Xuanyu sighed. "Anyway, I already have a divine weapon. It doesn't matter." As for Xiao Bai and Jiang Qin, they were very calm and their expressions didn't change. Han Fei couldn't help but despise Zhang Xuanyu. "Do you dare to recognize me as your master? That stick of yours is likely to suck you to death if it recognizes you as its master." Zhang Xuanyu was stunned. "Then what should I do?" Han Fei shrugged. "How do I know? You would make do with the semi-divine rod for now. Unless you have a spiritual fruit or spiritual medicine full of vitality, don't try to make that stick recognize you as its master." Zhang Xuanyu said awkwardly. "Then what if it is snatched away by others?" Han Fei smacked his lips and said, "Snatch it back. What can I do? Even if others take it, they won't recognize me as their master. Anyway, it's now ownerless." However, Jiang Qin threw a bottle of pills to Zhang Xuanyu and said, "Take it when it recognizes you as its master. It can generate qi and blood crazily. However, even if the weapon recognizes you as its master, don't use it easily. With your current strength, if you use a weapon of this level once, it is likely to suck up all the spiritual energy in your body. At that time, you will be at the mercy of others." Zhang Xuanyu's eyes lit up. "Thank you, senior sister. You're so kind." Zhang Xuanyu felt like he was dreaming. Who knew that such a troublesome thing could be solved by Jiang Qin throwing a bottle of pills at him? Han Fei was surprised. "Sister Qin, how can there be such a pill? Do you have any more? I also have a weapon that needs to recognize me as its master." Lu Renquang's face trembled. "Senior sister, me too." Jiang Qin glanced at them lightly. "There are 4 pills in the bottle. One for each of you." Han Fei immediately understood. So this is for 4 people. If he hadn't asked, Zhang Xuanyu would have taken it all. Jiang Qin gave Han Fei a meaningful look. What grandpa is best at is not arrays, but alchemy. Han Fei was slightly taken aback. Then doesn't Tang Ge learn alchemy because old Jiang taught him alchemy? So the spirit-gathering scripture can only be ranked second. However, thinking of old Jiang's performance just now, Han Fei suddenly felt that it was better to learn arrays. Others couldn't see him doing alchemy. That formation diagram on the other hand, was eye-catching as soon as it appeared. It was so strong that there were no friends. Han Fei thought about how he could only draw a dozen array fusion arrays. Then how many arrays were there in old Zhang's array just now? Besides, what was Tang Ji's relationship with him? His brother. Although they were not biological brothers, what was the difference between them? Old Han had disappeared a long time ago, and the two of them had been dependent on each other since they were children. Old Han refined pills, and Han Fei learned arrays, so they learned all of old Zhang's skills. Thinking of this, Han Fei immediately felt very comfortable. Above the sky, law enforcers soon arrived. General, everyone else has been taken out of the ancient battlefield. Is there anyone here who wants to be taken out? Xue Shenqi lowered his head and said lightly, "Everyone who doesn't know the secret of this cave, step out." In the crowd, many people whispered to each other, and some people really didn't know. Although they were heavenly talents, they were wild. How could they know what secrets there were in this cave? As soon as they came out, 102 people walked out at once. These people, after taking a step forward, immediately narrowed their eyes. Everyone else knows the secret of this cave. Isn't this 2F King outrageous? Isn't it the first time for everyone here? How do you know the secret of this cave? Of course, Han Fei and the others didn't move at all. It seemed that Xue Shenqi was going to clear the field. However, to Han Fei's surprise, he said, "Listen, you are the heavenly talents of the Scattered Stars Island. But today, you need to know one thing. The unknown place is called the Unknown Place, not because of the Scattered Stars Island, but because of another world buried deep underground. An underground city that only exists in legends." Wow, the 102 people were shocked. There's such a secret? But why'd he tell them now? Xue Shenqi said, "Since you have the ability to come here, you have the right to know. But, listen, it's very dangerous there. The 102 of you, if you leave now, will immediately be awarded the 7-star title of the Scattered Stars Island and be rewarded with 10 million points. Go back to the island and serve as the leader. Is anyone willing to leave?" The 102 people looked at each other, thinking to themselves. On one side, there was a narrow escape, and on the other side, there was promotion and 10 million points. Which one should they choose? Someone walked out directly. He could see it clearly. Before this, he didn't even have the qualifications to know this secret. This meant that the others had been prepared. Why did he rush in without knowing anything? It must be something bad. With someone taking the lead, a large number of people walked out at once. Some people thought that the road of growth should be gradual. If they died in this cave, they wouldn't even have a chance to rise. Of course, there were naturally some people who refused to leave. They had fought hard until today and finally stood with some heavenly talents. How could they let go of such an opportunity? The road of cultivation was originally a mountain of bones and opportunities in life and death. Danger also represented opportunity. These people had been cultivating for so long and had seen all kinds of scenes. Were they afraid of death? If they were afraid of death, they probably wouldn't even be qualified to enter this ancient battlefield. As a result, 76 of the 102 people left the team and didn't plan to participate. The remaining people decided to risk their lives. A law enforcer landed on the ground and drew an array with one hand. Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly. A small teleportation array? Uncle Faceless had shown it before. He had also secretly learned it in the ancient 72-floor demon realm. However, he probably didn't learn it. The law enforcer said, "Those who leave, follow me out." Chapter 9:16. The seawater rippled and the atmosphere was weird. After these people left, in an instant, there were only 447 people left. But Han Fei found that there were only 99 sea tokens in total. How could they be distributed to 447 people? Xue Shenqi said again, "Of the more than 400 of you, some went down to continue looking for opportunities, and some went down for other purposes. No matter what your purpose is, you should be able to come out from this hole. Of course, it's not so easy to come out." With that said, Xue Shenqi looked around. "Everyone, you can deal with what happened today by yourselves." With that, Chao Wudi casually threw 3 ancient jades to Chao Qiu and the other 2. "Hold this jade, and you can come out." A swordsman from the Heavenly Sword sect casually scattered a dozen sword talismans. Han Fei was surprised to find that Nameless turned out to be from the Heavenly Sword sect and was Tang Ji's senior brother. The things thrown by each party were different, but the effect was the same. It meant that it was easy to enter the underground city. Want to come out? But it wasn't easy. This also meant that once someone lost this barrier in the underground city, it was very likely that they would never be able to come out. Old Jiang also threw an ancient jade talisman to each of them and said lightly, "The city is just a city. There are many opportunities in this world, but the opportunities in the city are not necessarily good. You have to do what you should do." Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. Grandpa, there's a hidden meaning in his words. He meant that the opportunities in the city were not necessarily very good, and the sea-quelling painting was the greatest benefit. Han Fei understood. He was secretly telling him to grab the sea-quelling painting first and think about the rest after he got the painting. Han Fei glanced at old Jiang. "Grandpa, do you still have pills to replenish blood and qi? If you do, how about 2 more bottles?" Old Jiang said grumpily, "Do you think they are cabbages?" Han Fei grinned. "Grandpa, I have a sword, a high-quality divine weapon." However, judging from Han Fei's look, old Jiang seemed to really want it. However, Han Fei's tone didn't sound right. If it was just a high-quality divine weapon, Han Fei wouldn't ask him for pills. He had plenty of spiritual fruits. Old Jiang was a little uncertain. Is this kid going to let the sea-quelling painting recognize him as its master? Han Fei nodded slightly at old Jiang, and the latter immediately waved his hand and said, "Fine, I'll give you 2 more bottles. You should have told me earlier that you have a divine weapon." Han Fei bared his teeth. "I just got it in the ancient battlefield." With old Jiang here, Han Fei was not afraid that someone would eavesdrop. That would depend on whether they had the qualifications to eavesdrop. However, someone couldn't help but frown when he saw the pill that old Jiang threw down. This was a pill given by an explorer. The Thug Academy was really protective of him in everything. Zhang Xuanyu couldn't help but lean over to Han Fei and ask, "What pill?" Han Fei curled his lips and said, "It's none of your business." After a while, Xue Xinqi said faintly, "Have you given them all? Okay, then the rest of the people belong to the Scattered Stars Island. I'll take care of them. I'll remember the names of the rest of the people. After you take the things from me, you must guard the Scattered Stars Island for 10 years and are not allowed to leave. Anyone who disagrees, leave now." After waiting for several minutes, no one left, so Xue Xinqi threw down a large piece of ancient jade. Xue Xinqi said this to the others here. He meant, "I don't care if there are any of your people among the rest of the people here. As long as you take my things, you'll be my people for the next 10 years. No one is allowed to leave, and no one is allowed to interfere. Otherwise, I'll get angry." In fact, what he said made sense. Since you've taken someone else's things, how can you not help them? When everyone got the key to come out, Xue Xinqi said indifferently, "Okay, you can go down now." Jiang Qin suddenly said, "Let's go." As for the others, they almost set off at the same time as Jiang Qin and the others, for fear that if they were too slow, others would seize the opportunity. As a result, they jumped into the hole one after another like dumplings being dropped into a pot. In the outside world, after everyone left, someone looked directly at old Jiang and said coldly, "Old Jiang, you sent so many people this time. Can the Thug Academy afford this?" Old Jiang snorted. "What? Do you look down on the Thug Academy? Let me tell you, the Thug Academy will set foot in the 1,000-star city sooner or later. I'd like to see who dares to compete with us." Someone sneered. "Old Jiang, aren't you a bit too arrogant? If you could, you wouldn't have declined back then." Someone sneered. "There are many big clans in the 1,000-star city. Have you ever lost to an academy?" Old Jiang sneered. "Why are you pretending to be an ironhead fish? Don't forget that the Thug Patriarch suppressed the city all by himself. At that time, who dared to fart in front of the Thug Academy?" Someone snorted coldly. "In that case, let's see what the Thug Academy can do. After so many years, you've only trained 2 generations of people. Besides, you're incomplete. Don't you think you've overestimated yourself?" Old Jiang drank and cursed. Little B** starred. "Tell the Zhang family's patriarch to stand up and challenge me." Who do you think you are? Among the juniors of the Yi family, your family is the most useless. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? What are you looking at the Chow family's underworld fighters? Am I wrong? For a moment, old Jiang cursed in all directions without hesitation. As for Shueishenqi, he turned around and disappeared. What happened next was none of his business. They would fight for the ownership of the sea-quelling painting themselves. Anyway, they had won a great victory this time, and the human side could be stable for the time being. And he only needed to wait a few more years to see the situation. On the sea, Shueishenqi was about to return to the island when he suddenly thought of something. Guys, the Scattered Stars Island is an important place. It's not appropriate for you to break in, is it? Haha, Kid Shui, we certainly won't interfere with the internal affairs of your Scattered Stars Island. We'll only stay in this sea and not on the island. Someone walked out of the clouds and met Shueishenqi. Someone stood in the sky and said lightly, "With us here, I'm afraid the one under the 10,000 Demon Valley won't dare to come out easily." Someone sat on a big, gilded chair. "I only care about the sea-quelling painting. Bai Kongi, do you still want to hide? Hey, if you care about the sea-quelling painting, let's see if your juniors can take it." As he spoke, a reclining chair appeared in the air, and Old Bai was holding strawberries in his left hand and a wine jar in his right hand, hanging high on it. Shueishenqi's face was a little ugly. He snorted, stepped away, and disappeared. Han Fei and the others jumped into the black hole, only to feel a terrifying force sweeping around them. In the process of falling, Han Fei even saw a crack in the darkness. Jiang Qin shouted, "Be careful of the void crack. Once you are involved, you will never be able to return to the Scattered Stars Island." Han Fei and the others hurriedly dodged. However, the crack was not difficult to hide. Han Fei even glanced inside, but he could only see darkness. However, he could faintly hear the sound of water inside. Suddenly, he heard Luo Xiaobai say, "Not good. It's impossible to summon vines in this channel." Jiang Qin said, "Don't panic. This is not a directional teleportation array. Everyone, pay attention. Don't scatter." Han Fei shouted, "Learn from me, learn from me." Everyone saw that Han Fei's head was down and his hands were flat against his thighs, as if he was playing extreme sports. Han Fei thought, "This is too exciting. It's like bungee jumping. Oh no, it's like skydiving." However, for them, they didn't need to master the balance skill. Their purpose was to easily avoid the void crack and go to the bottom of this black hole. Seeing that Han Fei was flying so fast, everyone immediately learned from him. If one person learned from him, countless people would learn from him. In the end, everyone was like a falling missile, their bodies rubbing against each other so hard that sparks almost appeared on their bodies. Seeing the void crack, Han Fei only needed to slightly control the wind and easily avoid it. It was not as dangerous as he imagined. After about 10 minutes, Zhang Xuanyu said in shock, "How deep is this hole? We have been flying for almost 10 minutes. Chu Linyuan said, "Otherwise, this place wouldn't be called the unknown place. Even the Scattered Stars Island is named after it. It's conceivable that it is the key to the Scattered Stars Island. If it were so easy to find this place, it would have been found hundreds or thousands of years ago." 50 minutes, 80 minutes. After a full 100 minutes, a blue light appeared in everyone's eyes. Jiang Qin said, "Attention, we're here. Remember not to disperse." Puff, 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 everyone passed through the blue mist one after another. Suddenly, a strange scene appeared in front of everyone's eyes. There was no water here, but a land, and it was not an ordinary land. Just glancing at it from midair, they could see that there were high mountains, many waterfalls, and a blue sky. In the distance, above the sky, there seemed to be big birds flying in the sky. Looking straight down, it was an ancient and primitive jungle with donut-like vines, broad leaves tens of meters long, house-sized mushrooms, and variegated mushrooms of various colors. Han Fei also saw huge sunflowers scattered everywhere. The scene that greeted his eyes was like a magical continent that had never been developed. A primeval forest, a paradise. However, Han Fei's first reaction was that something was wrong. These things were way too big. A mushroom bigger than a house. Have you seen it? Besides, how do sunflowers spread pollen among all kinds of huge flowers? Han Fei turned around, only to see a blue sky with white clouds. F*CK. This is not underground at all. Han Fei immediately said to everyone, "Attention, what I said is absolutely credible. Don't eat anything here, especially those that look like flowers. There's an 80% chance that they're poisonous. Besides, there may be many unknown creatures here, no matter what we encounter." Before Han Fei finished speaking, Luren Kuang suddenly shouted, "Look, what's that thing?" Han Fei turned his head and saw that in the sky, a large number of buzzing things were flying over. To be precise, a guy he didn't know fell directly into a forest. Then, a large amount of this damned thing soared up from that place. Han Fei's eyes widened. F*CK, bees? When that thing got a little closer, Han Fei exclaimed, F*CK, it's a wasp. Come on, spread your wings and run. Pay attention to the poisonous stinger on its tail. Boo! The phantom glass wings spread out and Han Fei flashed out with a swish. Luo Xiaobai and the others also reacted very quickly with Han Fei's reminder. Everyone was flashing quickly, and their first goal was to rush into the forest. Han Fei was speechless. Xiaobai, just run into the water. Be careful in the forest. Han Fei was about to rush into the forest. In the end, with a chi-la sound, a sudden ping sound came from an unknown place, startling a large group of yellow-blue birds. They dragged their long white-tail feathers and rushed toward the wasps. Seeing that the road below was blocked and the wasps were attacking from the side, Han Fei said to the others via voice transmission, "Protect yourselves. Xiaobai, you go with senior brother and senior sister first." Suddenly, Han Fei saw that the wasp's tail, which was even bigger than a calf, shot through the air like a needle. One of them didn't dodge in time and was directly stabbed. However, the strength of a hidden fissure was not a joke. The man pressed the poisonous stinger with both hands. As a result, the guy's hands began to rot. Oh my God, which primeval forest did I fall into? What kind of underground city is this?